Hi guys, it's Andy from mcfcfantv and welcome to this Friday night social. This is a big one because it's a preview for Sunday's derby at the Etihad Stadium, 16:30 kickoff, Man City versus United. City first, United second. Should be interesting. It always is, as it's a derby. But I've got some guests on tonight, so I'll bring them in. As usual, here he comes. How are you, mate?
I'm knackered, mate. How are you?
You don't need to ask. I'm exactly the same. Yes, we both of us have had a very, very busy week this week, and But anyway, it's going to be interesting chatting about the derby for Sunday. As usual, is here. It's #delicious. How are you doing, mate?
Hi boys, yeah, a little bit croaky. I went to a gig last night, Oasis tribute band, so there's a bit of they were called No Oasis.
No way.
So bit croaky with a few City shirts in there as well, which was nice to see. And I wore my parka all night. So
not your cagoule.
No, I wore a parka all night, Andy. So
what, in that weather?
Inside, yeah.
You must have been dripping.
I'm just that cool that I didn't even get warm. So.
Well, Ross has not had a lot of sleep, as you can tell. He said, I think he said it was 2 o'clock or something like that. He got to bed, but anyway, we've got another guest who you might have seen 4 or 5 weeks ago. But for those who've just joined, this is Simon. Simon, how are you, mate?
Good to see you guys. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Just for anyone new subscribers who might not have caught the FNS in previous times or the Empty Seat show that you were on, can you just give everybody a bit of background to, obviously you're in Australia as well now, but what's your job role and what have you done in the past for Man City or over Man City?
Well, I've not done anything for Man City officially, apart from call some of their games. I'm a football broadcaster and commentator here in Australia. I was in the UK up until 2003. Obviously, I'm a Manc as well, City fan all my life. I worked for the BBC for 10 years. Then I went over to the ill-fated ITV Sport channel, if anybody's old enough to remember that one. And of course, we all got dumped after 12 months, which was nice. So then I came over to Australia in 2003, initially for a channel called SBS, and then for 14 years for Fox Sports. Until I left there last year. So at the moment, I'm freelancing, just about to start a radio show actually on Tuesday night on a station over here, and various other things. And mad football fan. Called at World Cups and European Championships, African Cup of Nations, Asian Cups, Grand Finals over here. Yeah, so I've been involved in the industry for 30 years, but it's all thanks to this, and my old man who took me to Main Road when I was 6. So that's where it all started.
There you go. So he's a massive blue before you start saying, "Oh, he's an Aussie," and he's this that.
No, he's not. He's not an Aussie.
He's not. He's not. He's definitely not. Right. We've got loads to get through tonight. We have got the preview the derby, and we've got thanks to Pundit J. And some of you may have seen Pundit J before on the channel. He did record us a little bit of an audio voiceover for the channel, so you will see that, hear that at some point. But let's see who's on quickly before we get into it. Big Morgan is on. How are you? 5-0 City, maybe more goals. Jack Lee says, good evening, Blues. How are you, Jack? Jolly Everett says, good evening, Blues. Hope all is well. Can't wait for the FNS tonight, especially because of the derby. And he's saying hi to Jack. He says, come on, City, 3-0. We will destroy these. This is obviously a golfing quality. Hi, Charlie. Hope you're well, mate. Charlie and him are having a bit of a chat. Charlie thinks it's going to be 2-0. Hopefully, Ollie doesn't play for a 0-0. We've got Farhan Yaqub is on. Come on, City. Ronnie's on. How are you, Ronnie? Evening Blues. And we've got another from Charlie. Sorry, let me just skip to some of the others. King of Assists on. Hello. Leonard London's on. Evening, everyone. Hi, Sean Fogarty. How are you? Abdallah's on. How are you, mate? Hi, guys. Hope you're well. SOS is on. Evening Blues. Jukebox is on as well. 4-1, hopefully. Lorenzo Orange, I hope we destroy United. Well, yes, don't we all, mate? Ray Woods is on. How are you, Ray? Hey, Dale, come on the Blues Sunday. My mum, dad, and Mr. B cheering from the great gig in the sky. Come on, City. Lassie, our Blur's on. How are you, mate? Hope you're well. Good evening. Well, there's going to be, there's already nearly 60 on at the moment, and we've only just started. That will increase, I'm sure, throughout the night. But we are previewing the derby on Sunday. And first up, we're going to have Chris, because Chris, as usual, is our stat man on Man City Fans. And he comes up with all the generic stats on the games that we are previewing on the Five Night Social. So over to you, buddy.
All right, mate. Well, we've played each other 184 times. We've won 55, United 76, and 53 draws. So that United have got a 41% win ratio, and we've got a 30% ratio. But it's a bit closer in top flight, where United have won 58 games and City won 45. So quite close, really, considering, you know, our history only started in 2008 or something.
By all accounts.
Yeah, so the last 10 games that the Etihad between the two has been 4 wins, 4 losses and 2 draws, so fairly close. United's away form this season as they played 14, won 8 and drawn 6. It's pretty impressive. Their last Premier League win was on January the 27th against Sheffield United. The last 4 away games have been draws to Palace, Chelsea, West Brom and Arsenal, 3 goalless draws and a 1-1. That was against West Brom. City's home form this season, 14 played, 11 won, 2 draws and 1 loss. We've won the last 8. United have their last 10 games, they've won 3, drawn 6 and lost 1. They've drawn 5 of their last 6 away games and have struggled for goals in the bigger games this season. We all know City's form going into this one, looking for win 22 in a row and 16 in a row in the Premier League. We've been on a hell of a run and beaten in 28 games, 1 more to beat the record. But the stat that's blown my mind this week is that City haven't lost a midweek Premier League game since losing to Spurs in May 2010. That's 38 games, 32 wins and 6 draws.
Wow. So just repeat that one again.
Last time we've lost a midweek Premier League game was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, was May 2010 when Peter Crouch pretty much knocked us out of Champions.
But we're not playing United midweek, Chris.
Yeah.
No. Not this time.
No. Well, that's an incredible stat, though, for midweek games. 38.
38 games, 32 wins as well.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Let's shame it wasn't a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday next week. We were playing United. It's Sunday. So White DZ says United no chance this time. Come on, Blues. City are world breakers, reckons Leonard. That's an interesting stats, Chris, says Jack Lee. John Walters on. How are you? Looks like 1976 League Cup. There you go. Somebody recognising the top there, Simon. That's John Walters and Sniffles. But anyway, on to the next question. This was from Chris and it's to everybody. And it was, are United the best of the rest? So I'll come to Ross first. Are United the best of the rest in the chasing to Man City as it stands now? Obviously, we're first, they're second.
Yeah, I'll probably answer it in 2 ways. Obviously, they're second in the table, so you've got to say, the league table doesn't lie. But I actually think by the end of the season, I fancy Chelsea to finish second. I think they're on a really good run. I think they've got some good momentum. And if you look how tight the table is, I can see them just nipping in. I think the teams below us are all a bit of a muchness. They can play well, then they miss, they draw, they lose. I don't think particularly that, and I'm not just saying this, but I don't think that the Rags play good football. I don't think they're exciting to watch. I don't think the defence is that great, especially, if you look at our centre-backs compared to theirs, I can't even imagine how much John Stones is worth if you compare him to the fridge. I think the keepers now had better days, and they depend on one player. And actually, he's not started. He's flattered to deceive the last few games as well. I think he got 3 out of 10. And they compare him to KDB, and I don't think KDB's ever got 3 out of 10 in it. I mean, I don't think he's got 3 out of 10 when he's come on for the last 3 minutes. So if that's the best player, yeah, I think they've got some good players on the day they can win games. But yeah, I actually think, like I say, Chelsea are a better side, got a better squad, and for me, it'd be them who are the best of the rest.
Okay, Simon.
Yeah, pretty difficult to disagree with what Ross has just said. Are they the best of the rest? Yeah, at the moment, but it's the world's tallest pygmy competition, isn't it? I think they're there because Liverpool have had injuries. The other big clubs have not had consistency either. I mean, it's difficult to remember this, but remember when Spurs were actually top of the table? That was mid-December. They were top of the table in mid-December, Tottenham. Where are they now? Is it 9th or 10th? Yeah. So they've dropped like a stone. Liverpool were top at Christmas, and I think they were, was it 11 or even 14 points clear of us? And I remember all the gloating because, when you live in Australia, there's more Liverpool fans than United fans, to be honest. They're a pain in the you-know-what. So they've dropped like a stone. And to be fair to United, Solskjaer is still rebuilding, in my opinion. I think he's doing a reasonably decent job, but they're coming from a long way back, and they're miles away from City. I mean, that's not to say that they couldn't beat us at the weekend because it's a derby and anything can happen. But in terms of man for man, their squads, their consistency, their style of play, City are light years in front. Which is great for us, but that's not to say that the gap can't close, and I think they have closed it a little bit. The one thing that I don't know, I'm sort of straying into preview territory here, but the one thing that does concern me a little bit, well, there's two things on Sunday. One, they've got a pretty decent record at the Etihad, as Chris mentioned in his stats, and secondly, they haven't lost away from home this season, so. Those are the only two things that concern me a little bit. But when you look at how City are playing, goodness me, if they're the best of the rest, I ain't worried. Don't know about you lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because you're saying that both of you there said possibly, United are where they are at the moment. Well, if we look at the table, obviously City, after 27 games, that are on 65 points. United, same number of games, they're on 51. Leicester, same number of games, are on 50, so they're 1 point behind United. Chelsea, same number of games, they're on 47 points. Then you've got Everton back in 5th, played 26 on 46 points. They win that game in hand. They are 1 point behind Leicester and 2 points behind United. And there's something about Everton for me this year that I do think to make the top 4. I really, really do. I don't know why. I just think they will. And if you look at Aston Villa back in 9th, they've only played 25. With another, if they got 2 wins, they're up to sort of 6 where West Ham are now. Looking at Liverpool, 27, they're on 43 points. Well, if Tottenham win their game in hand, they jump above Liverpool, put them in 8th. If Villa win.
Look at Ross laughing his head off.
Yeah, if Villa were to win their 2 games in hand, they go to 46, which puts Liverpool into 9th. And so you're talking about, I mean, this table is just madness. When you, Simon, Tottenham were top of the table, Southampton were at one point, and that seems like an age ago. And look where City are now. Absolutely incredible. We're 14 points clear of United. On this massive run at the moment. Chris, do you think United are the best of the rest? And I'll ask you another question. I'll ask you all the question quickly before we move on. Are United the best of the rest? And who do you think your top 4 will be? All right, City. But then who will be 2nd, 3rd and 4th?
Firstly, I don't think United are the best of the rest. I agree with Ross. I think Chelsea are. I think Liverpool are. If they had even just one of their centre backs back, I think they'd be in a better position than they are. They just have lost a lot of confidence for whatever reason that is. I watched United against Palace the other night, and that was shocking. That was a really, really poor game. That could have been Fulham against West Brom. It was that poor. It was a really poor game of football. And I don't think Chelsea or Liverpool will produce games like that, personally. So I don't think United are the best. I think they're in a false position. I think Ole Solskjaer isn't a good manager. I think he makes some very bizarre substitutions. I'm not impressed by Ole at all. I think he's a cheap option for United, and that's the reason they're where they are. I would love to see Pep take those players for a month and see what you produce out of them, because what United do have is a lot of star qualities. You know, they have the Paul Pogbas and Bruno Fernandes, those sort of players who could generally be really good footballers. But Ollie's not working with, he's not produced them, he's not made them into a team. And Pep has. That's what Pep does.
Okay.
So on that, I think sorry, mate. So
no, go on. Yeah, that was your top four. Yeah.
I think will be City, Chelsea, United and Everton.
Everton. Interesting. Okay, Ross, give me your top four.
Chris, totally disagree about Solskjaer. Think he's amazing. Want him to stay forever. So top four, can I do the top four that I want, or the top four?
No. Who do you think it'll be?
I'd personally love West Ham to finish in the top four.
Yeah.
I think we've got just a bit, as we said on previous shows, a bit of affinity, but I definitely think Chelsea will be in there. I think United will be in there. You know, they've been there, done it, and they'll push through. And I actually think then it's going to be a real good scrap. I mean, are Leicester going to falter again? But they've been there all season. So right now, I'll probably say Chelsea, Leicester, and United.
Okay.
And hopefully Liverpool finish not even in a European place. That would be just absolutely. They won't even qualify through the Fair Play League because we're top of that as well. So it's amazing.
Simon, who would your top? Obviously, City first. Yeah. Who's second, third, and fourth for you, or in that top four?
You can tell me and Ross live in Australia, can't you? Because that Liverpool thing is worse than the United thing over here. God, it's painful. Which is why it's great at the moment, because the peace is just wonderful every week. So I'm obviously City, Chelsea. I'm going to go with Leicester and United. I think Leicester will get that fourth spot.
They're pretty consistent overall, aren't they? I mean, if it's a draw, then maybe a loss. They go on a couple of wins, and then it's a draw. And they're not dropping. They're not going on runs where they're dropping 9 points in 4 games. That's what drops you down the league, like you've seen with Liverpool and where they are.
Well, I think, what people sort of underestimate is that I don't think Brendan Rodgers has got a huge amount of depth in his squad. But he's got good players. He's still got some players there that won the league 4 or 5 years ago. Jamie Vardy's still there. I know he's having a bit of a lean patch at the moment, but James Maddison has had a very good season for me, I think. And Didi, the guy in midfield, has been terrific for them as well. Still got Kasper Schmeichel, one or two others. Mark Albrighton, who won the league with them 4 or 5 years ago. They seem to be able to regenerate their squad quite successfully, given that they don't have the budget of the huge clubs. And I'm like Ross. I'd love to see West Ham get in there, or even Everton. But I just feel that Leicester at the moment probably have a little bit more know-how than those clubs to finish in the top 4. And Rodgers is a bit underrated as well. People forget he got Liverpool pretty close against us in 2014 before Stevie slipped.
Kurt says here Leicester had terrible injuries all season, yet still really consistent.
They just lost Harvey Barnes, and that will be a massive loss to him because he's having a great season.
He is. He definitely is. King of Assists, Man City, Rags, Chelsea, West Ham. I think everybody would love West Ham. I think most City fans would love West Ham to be in there. It says City. Just love it, says Sean. If Liverpool don't make the top 4, I honestly don't think they'll make the top 4. I really don't. Because again, if you look at the table, they're on 43 points. Well, if West Ham win, they're going to be 5 points behind the game in hand. They're going to be 5 points behind West Ham. If Everton win in 5th, their game in hand, they're going to be 6 points behind West Ham on level peggings. And then you've got Villa as well, who could potentially be 3 points ahead of Liverpool on level peggings. Now, I know if Liverpool get a few people back, but I think that, and you can even hear it in Klopp and the players and things like that. It is they've all said it after last night and the night before. Was it last night? Lost track it. Was it last night? Lost Drew, whatever. The players were coming out saying the fight is on just for a top 4 place. Never mind.
The interesting thing is, Andy, you look at this home run that they're on. They've lost 5 in a row for the first time in their history. Yeah. And during the stat that stands out to me in that run is that they've scored only once in those 5, and that was against us, which was a penalty. Yeah. So, for all that aggressive dominance, they just appear to have completely lost their way. And I've watched them a couple of times, and their play is so stodgy. It was always so aggressive and fast and purposeful and pinpoint. And now it's just aimless. It's really strange how they've dropped so far. Funny, though.
Very funny. Well, long may that continue. On back to the derby. So we've looked at who we think. You guys have looked at I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be City, Leicester, Chelsea are on a bit of a run, but I don't know whether though. It's one of those new manager things, and will it continue? It should continue because they've got some very good players. But I'm going to go City, Leicester United, and I'm going to go Everton. I'm going to really throw cat amongst the pigeons. Say Everton's going to continue.
So Chelsea are not going to make the top 4, Andy?
No, not for me.
Wow.
Nope. I think it's this bedding in period with Tuchel, and I think it's one of those that all teams do it, don't they? But then
stick some money on that, Andy. If it comes in, you'll be a rich man. Let me tell you.
I will be. So I'm going to throw Everton in there. I think Ancelotti will.
It'll be okay, Andy.
Drive them home.
UEFA are introducing a new rule that the club that finished 7th or 8th qualify for the Champions League, just so Liverpool can get in. So,
they might win it.
It wouldn't surprise me.
That's why I've not mentioned it. You can see that happening, can't you? You can just see it happening.
I don't want them not to make Europe because if they can get in the UEFA, that'd be perfect. I want them to play as many games as they can.
Yes. Right. On to Hester Dunlop says Liverpool don't play anything at one speed. They rely on the press to win the ball, not midfield creativity, so can never take the foot off the pedal. Looks like that's the thing that they are actually doing at the moment, doesn't it? Though that's the thing. They look like they're dead on the feet. They are absolutely dead on the feet at the moment. And one thing they did rely on was that proper press, and they don't seem to be able to do it anymore. But on to the next question from Chris, which was, who would you take from Manchester United squad? So we'll come to Ross first.
One player, and I actually think after this week's events, City could potentially sign him, and that's Rashford. I just think Pep would make him into. I think he's a good player anyway. He's the one player who actually worries me in derbies at the moment, and I just think the potential he's got with someone like, someone like Pep. I mean, I thought it was pretty disgraceful how you've got in a game Maguire having a go at Rashford. Like, I mean, if I was him, I'd be out the door because he's not going to achieve there, and he could achieve. I reckon he could pretty much go anywhere he wants. That lad. I think he's a great player, and I would actually take him. I'd love it. I'd love it if sounded like Keegan there, but I'd love it to take someone like that, like we did with Tevez, and just because I think he'd have a real fight. Because whether it'd actually happen or not, but yeah, I'd take Rashford all day long.
Jukebox agrees with you. He says Rashford because we don't need any more midfielders. Jack Lee said, I think Andy said on here a few years ago that Rashford would excel on the paper. Yeah, I've always been a Rashford fan. I think he's got the qualities. I just don't think he's had the right manager, and I do think he'd be somebody under Pep like you, Ross. I think he could be a phenomenal player. But let's see what Simon thinks. Simon, would you take anyone from United? Would you take anyone from United? And if so, who would you take and why?
Well, I guess the obvious answer is, I mean, Ross has done one with Rashford, and I agree with everything that he said. He's got still terrific potential, and not least because I actually quite like what he's done off the field as well.
Yeah.
Whatever team he plays for, and I don't like them obviously, but he's done a terrific job. So he's clearly a decent human being as well, which I think counts for a lot. The obvious answer would be Bruno Fernandes, but we don't need Fernandes. So I see one of Andy's just come up with one of the things I was going to say. We do need a left back, probably. So maybe Luke Shaw would be an option. The ones I would go for perhaps would be the younger players like a Mason Greenwood or a Scott McTominay. Somebody, as Ross has alluded to, that Pep could work on and develop and mold into a world-class player, which he seems to be able to do. Certainly doing that with Phil Foden at the moment, although he's probably got a bit more talent than Greenwood and McTominay. So I think I'd probably go for Mason Greenwood, somebody like that, because I think Rashford's a United fan as well. I don't think he'd particularly want to come to City. I know we're talking theoretical, but
of course, yeah. And that's the problem, isn't it? He is deep-seated red, isn't he? But Ronnie says, get Rashford and have him on the billboards. Welcome to that. Andy Mills says, agrees with you, McTominay is half decent. Tellers instead of Shaw, says Charlie Everett. Fernandes still hiding. There you go. Chris, your question, mate. Well, it was one you came up with on the email. Are you taking anyone?
No, they're all tainted, Andy.
So was Dennis Law, Chris, to be fair.
Yeah, but he played for us before he played for United. Remember that as well.
True.
Yes, he did.
So no, the two players that the lads have mentioned, Rashford and Fernandes, I think they're two exceptional players. But Rashford isn't getting much love from United fans at the minute, from what I've seen on their channels. They don't rate him much at all.
No, they don't.
So I haven't watched enough of him to know. But what I have seen him when he's played against City, I'm the same as Ross. He's the one actually, he's the one who genuinely strikes a bit of fear into the team. And Fernandes, we need a penalty taker, don't we? So
that's true.
For that.
Well, maybe IFAB and the others will introduce penalty takers next year. Seeing as though they've changed the rule now, apparently, for next year, aren't they, on handball? So now there's none of this nonsense of accidental handballs and, if it hits your hand, it's a definite penalty. They're going to introduce next year that if your hand is by your side and it hits your hand and it goes on to another of your teammates and they score, that's just life.
Did you see the Fulham?
That should. This is another reason why they've changed it, obviously, and looked at it. It's just embarrassing, isn't it? It's just.
Simon, can I ask you what you thought about that? About the Fulham goal that was disallowed yesterday?
Ludicrous.
Yeah.
And same as everything else. Look at it. For me. And I'm a big, in my commentaries and in my reportage, if that's the right word here, I'm a big defender of referees because I think everybody has completely got the wrong end of the stick. Everybody attacks refs. And, one of the reasons why we've had this ridiculous introduction of VAR is because the refs were getting so much abuse that, to be fair, IFAB and FIFA, they actually wanted to try and help them. So it was introduced with the right idea, with the right motive, but all it's done is confuse every single issue and actually animate the conversation, increase the noise around referees.
Yeah.
What they need to do, in my opinion, and I know this is a very difficult thing to introduce, but you've got to have a respect campaign. It starts with the players. It starts with the coaches. After most Premier League games now, the first thing a manager will say is, well, we should have had a penalty. And I think the refs got that wrong. And, well, we were playing against 12 or whatever it is. It's always about the damn referee. And yet he never pulls up, his own player who's missed an open goal for 5 yards, or his defender that's missed the tackle, or his goalkeeper that's let one in. And they've got another, even if the ref has made a mistake, and the stats show, incidentally, that they get between 96 and 98% of their decisions correct without VAR during a 90 minutes. But we offer referees as fans, and we take our lead from managers and coaches and players, we offer them no leeway whatsoever. It's always the ref's fault. And even now with VAR, I keep reading endlessly. It's not VAR. It's the people who use them. They're hopeless. They don't know that. So what's changed? We're still having the same old circular conversations. Yeah. It's ludicrous. And we're tackling the symptoms rather than the actual nub of the problem, which is our attitude as a game towards officialdom, and that's what's wrong.
Okay, I'm going to come back on this, and I'm going to play devil's advocate on that particular point, and I'm going to come back with 2 or 3 things with what you just said there. But I agree exactly with everything that you're saying. However, there are a couple of other points that I think, while we're just on the refereeing thing. One, you said there about managers coming out talking about referees and players coming out with talking about referees, and you get an awful lot of Pep's done it in the past as well. I don't want to say anything because I'll be in trouble. I don't want to say, so that intimates that he's pissed off with the referee, but he can't say anything because he knows he'll be in trouble. And if you get too many of those, you'll end up with a touchline ban and things like that. So that's one point. On that, should referees then come out, considering the amount of money that they earn now in the game?
How much do they earn, Andy?
I think it's £75,000 plus expenses, which takes them up to anywhere between £100,000 and £125,000 a year.
Right. Look,
in the bigger scheme of things, that's nothing for footballers. I totally understand that, but they get books and they get TV deals and they get punditry opportunities.
But money. But again, we reduce everything to pounds and pence. Yeah. I keep hearing this, that the referees are biased and that they're earning a lot of money, therefore they should be 100% correct. Name me one person in this life that does a 100% correct job every single day of their working life. Yeah, particularly when we've got a game of football that is very emotional, is moving at 100 miles an hour, and they've got a split second to make a decision. Okay, now they've got VAR to help them in certain areas, but the laws of the game are so woolly that it's almost impossible, because some of it is still subjective. Right. So they're on it. They can't win. They cannot win.
On that there, which is my second point, and talk about money. Why did Mark Clattenburg leave the Premier League to go and get $1 million a year in Saudi? So money obviously means something to these referees. Otherwise, if it was prestige and everything else, he would have stayed in the Premier League.
But he'd done everything in the Premier League.
What is that? He was only 43 when he left. 43 when he left the Premier League. I mean, he possibly could have ended up being one of the best World Cup referees, Euro referees. He could have been potentially head of the PGMOL. He could have gone on to much bigger things and considered. And I think he was a great referee overall. But nowadays he has a lot to say for himself about all the other referees. And yeah, he could have been potentially in Mike Dean and Mike Riley's position.
People hate Mike Dean.
But I'm talking about Mike Dean. I'm talking about their positions where they're in. I mean, Mike Dean is the senior referee in the Premier League, and then you've got Mike Riley, who's the head of the PGMOL. So,
but people still hate it.
Yeah, but Mark Clattenburg could have been in that, considering he likes to talk an awful lot in the media. In the Daily Mail, he has his own column talking 3 times a week, 4 times a week on referees' performances.
But Andy,
he could have stayed and he could have been in charge of that.
Why shouldn't referees? Maybe Mark wanted to see a bit of the world. Maybe he wanted to go and experience something else elsewhere.
Oh, that's fine.
England's, as much as we love it and it's our home, even for us who live in Australia still, it's not the only country in the world where we play football. And sometimes it's nice to go and have experiences in different parts of the world. Why should players do it?
Absolutely.
Players go here, there, and everywhere. So why shouldn't they do? Anyway, I think from the original point is, I just feel that we've had this conversation for 50 years now, particularly more so the last 20, 30 years with the advent of Sky and, the greater coverage, the microscopic replaying frame by frame of every incident. To me, the game of football has changed because now we talk about referees 7 days a week. When I was growing up as a kid, and yes, I'm old, I've got grey hair, I didn't even know the names of the referees, maybe one or two, Clive Thomas. Then I'm struggling in the 70s and 80s when I grew up as kids. And I know the spotlight wasn't the same on the game. And you had a bit of a whinge about the ref during the 90 minutes. But I don't remember us sitting there day after day dissecting refereeing decisions. We talked about footballers. Nobody talks about footballers these days. The referees are more famous than the damn players. I'm sick of it. I don't want to talk about referees and decisions and laws. It's boring for me. I'd rather talk about great players, great skills, great goals, great saves, great tackles. That's the game of football for me. But it seems perhaps that the younger generation are more interested in whinging about. It's not exclusive to the younger generation. Actually, that's unfair because my dad's exactly the same. They're whinging more about referees than talking about players, and I find it really odd, to be honest.
I mean, again, I'll come back with. You only have to look at the VAR because I think a lot of this is really exacerbated since VAR's come in and gets very frustrating when you saw the offside decision for City the other night and the armpit
it's ludicrous.
It's madness. It's so all that does is generate an opportunity for, no disrespect to you, but journalists and fans alike to complain about it. My last question to you is, while I've got you on, Simon, because I know you can't stay forever tonight, but I watched somebody posted on Twitter the other day, and again, it's one of the third time I've seen these video clips of, in Australia, the way that the referees handle VAR and the fact that they're mic'd up and things like that.
They're not mic'd up. They're not.
Whatever the audio is. So if the
audio's not there.
If you can clarify.
Okay. So this was a feature that was done by my former employers, Fox Sports, but it wasn't done during the game. And the reason I know that is because it was me who was commentating the game. So they recorded, they mic'd up Jared Gillett, who was the referee, who's now in England working for P. Jamal, and they had the conversation over a controversial incident with his assistant and the VAR as to how they were going to arrive at the decision. And it was brilliant. But people have picked up on this feature, which was recorded and played out, I think, 3 days later on Fox Sports or something like that, and assumed that in Australia, that's what happens during the game every week.
That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. It's never happened and the reason is FIFA doesn't allow it. FIFA does not allow audio of the officials to be broadcast. It should, but it doesn't.
Yeah. But if the point is then to you two, Ross and Chris, I don't know whether you saw the video, and it's probably one of about 5 or 6 that have been floating around Twitter in the last year, but showing the Australian games and the way that they deal and speak to players. Clearly, it was done, like you said, maybe it was done for some sort of TV program purposes.
Well, it wasn't maybe, and it was.
Okay, well, there you go. Or maybe it was done as a trial thing and then released as a TV program. Maybe, I don't know. But looking at it, do you not think the way it came across and the way that you heard those, do you not think that would be a good idea and would alleviate a lot of the crap that we do get? I agree with Simon. A lot of the crap is pointed solely directed at referees and things. Would that alleviate it, Ross?
I think actually, Simon, on that about referees, I think you called the game, but I've only ever seen it once, and I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was watching the game on Fox Sports. A referee actually spoke after a game about a couple of decisions a few years ago. I think he ended up getting. Yeah, so I mean, I really like that. I mean, for me, the best sort of officiating in sport is rugby. But I think that starts to something Simon mentioned, which is, and my wife works for an NRL team over here. There is a respect for everyone connected with the game. So you see these giants of men, and if the referee, and especially in union and league, if the referee says it, they might not like it, and all right, some of them speak back, but as soon as they do, they're gone.
Yeah,
and they know that, and then the captain's over, and the captain controls them, and there's a respect for that. Now, I don't think personally football will ever get there because the egos, the game, the way it's viewed. But we've got to try some. I mean, and for me, it's got to start at grassroots. There's someone who referees over here in State 2, which is 3 below the A League. The amount of abuse that you get on the pitch and from off the pitch, $70. Sometimes I think I'm doing this because I love football and I don't play anymore. What's the point? I've had people waiting at my car because I've sent someone off for punching someone.
Ross, can I ask a question? Because I interviewed the head of the referees here in Australia a couple of years ago, and he told me that on average, once referees get over the age of 18, they are so fed up of the abuse that up to 50% of them give the game away after the age of 18. And he told me that because, and he actually got in touch with me and said, we've got a massive crisis looming here because we've got all these games of football and we're not going to have any referees because we lose half of them every 12 months.
It's true. We turn up on Sundays for the thirds and we probably 1 in 3 don't have a ref.
Yeah, it's the same in the UK. I mean, there's been a big thing on TalkSport last month. It was all about young referees and things like that. I mean, it's the same thing. My point was really, would miking up at least start that? Because that is a culture change. It's a generational thing about respect. I mean, the rugby players have been brought up with it all their lives, from school through to club rugby, through to internationals and things, where it just isn't happening. Even for kids football, we've seen it, and it's a big problem in the UK. I'm just thinking if it started at the top down rather than bottom up. If we were mic'd up and everybody could hear the old Wayne Rooney screaming at the referee and blah, 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 would Wayne Rooney or the likes, temper that because of sponsorships and everything else, and they don't want to see Rooney going, you mother, you this, that, and the other. Would that be tempered down, and then maybe that would be showing an example to others and the younger kids? I don't know. It's a difficult one. It is a difficult.
I think more important than that, Andy, is that the spectators, both inside the ground and at home watching in television, would have a greater understanding as to how the officials arrive at the decision they do. They might still not agree with it.
Yeah.
At least if they could hear the process, I think it would take a lot of the angst out. One of the things that irritates a lot of fans, I think, at the moment, is you see something happen, a goal scored or the whistle blows, and you go, well, what? Hang on a minute, what's that for? And you've got this 2-3 minute delay. There's no information going inside the stadium. There's no information. The commentators half the time, and I know this because I'm one myself, you're guessing as to what has occurred. And then all of a sudden, you'll get a blow of a whistle. Yep, it's a goal or it's no goal. And you're thinking, well, why didn't we have the information so at least the process that they're going through? At the moment, the fans are being kept in the dark. Yeah. And that's not good commercially for the sport either. Let me tell you, it's turned me off a lot of it. You watch a VR decision, and you think, oh God, I'm gonna make a cup of tea. I can't be doing it. It could be 3 or 4.
Well, the thing is, at the moment, actually, we're getting more information because we're watching it on TV and listening to people like you, Chris. What's or Ross, when you're in the Etihad and prior to COVID, you stood there and you're like, what's that all about? And it's like, huh? And then you can see the referee moving over and you can see things happening, but you're still looking at the screen going, what's happening here? Nobody knows. And then suddenly you get this VAR decision pending, blah, 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 blah. Decision's made, and then you're still waiting to go, what was it about originally? What was that all about? And
I think for me, Andy,
you have no idea.
For me, Andy, there's a piece around communication. But for me, I don't think the refs back at the base looking at the VT have been given any help. They need to make the offside rule like it used to be. Offside rule and a handball rule are there all the contentious things right now. I mean, why are we looking whether someone's armpit is offside? Let's just. I used to like it when it was the, if this space there, if you can see space, VAR was introduced to actually bring more goals and excitement to football. It's actually removing goals because of that, what I call Microsoft Paint. Someone's drawing a line. It's the rules.
That goes back to the discussion about the managers, because the managers were complaining so loudly, and the players as well, but particularly the managers. For me, he's offside. It's close, but he's offside. He's offside. So they've whinged so much that they've gone, well, okay, we're going to have to bring in the microscopic lines to make sure, he either is or he isn't. So it starts with the game itself. If the game itself can accept that referees are human and are going to make the odd error during a game, that will bleed into the players' behavior. That will therefore bleed into the fans' behavior. I'd much rather us go back. Okay, you have a whinge during the game, boo, ref, you're a... But, let's get back to talking about footballers instead of, Mike Dean and Mike Riley. Jeez, if I hear their names once more in a discussion about the Premier League, I think I'll scream. I'd much rather read about De Bruyne.
Yeah, Mike Riley, Mike Dean.
Both of them.
Waiting for the scream. But anyway, listen.
Just on that, personally, I'd get rid of VAR. I think it's sucking the life out of football. I think it's shit. That's the truth of the matter. I think take Eamon Laporte's goal the other night that got disallowed. As Ross said, measuring from his armpit, the line didn't even look straight. You can't really know exactly when the ball. When it hit Bernardo's head for that. It all should be done as it always has been done on where the people's feet are. Why we started introducing armpits and stuff like that is beyond me, because a striker's natural inclination is to lean forward towards the goal and the defenders is to go the other way. Just do it how we've always been used to. If they'd stuck to that, it would be so much easier. But when we scored... Did you see Arsene Wenger's suggestion that he's bringing before IFAB that if any part of your body that can score is level with the second last defender, including the goalkeeper, obviously, then you're onside. I think that's a sensible... That's better. I think that's better. It's better than what we've got now. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I didn't celebrate our second goal because I thought Kyle was offside. Yeah. And I hate that. I hate the fact that you don't celebrate a goal until 2 minutes after a VAR check, and it's just not the same. And when you're at the ground, it's magnified that by however much you want is shit. So I would definitely get rid of it. Yeah, I would as well, but I don't think it's going anywhere. Sorry, we did drift off topic there, but that's absolutely fine. So that's what we've got a game for the weekend. That's what facilitation is all about. We're allowed to drift off to bring it back to where we're talking about, and that is Manchester United. We've so far looked at the stats. We've so far are Manchester United the best of the rest. We gave you our top 4 who we think might finish at the end of the season, and the players that mainly were talked about who we would take from United if we had to take any were mainly Marcus Rashford. Somebody mentioned Luke Shaw as a left back and Bruno Fernandes just solely to take penalties. But what I did do is I spoke to Pundit Jay today and I asked him some questions. So what I'm going to do, you can go and grab a beer, go do whatever you want to do, have a wee, grab a coffee on over there. I'm going to let you listen to my questions to Pundit Jay. And I want to say a massive thank you to Pundit Jay. You can follow him at Pundit_Jay. And this is Jay talking about Man City, Man United on Sunday at 16:30. So enjoy.
Yeah, hello people. It's me, Pundit Jay. I've got a few questions from Andy. So I'm just going to get straight to them. And the first question was, how has United's season been so far? Do you know what? For me, I think for Man United, it's been a bit so-so. Because you know what? On one hand, you can say, there's been a bit of small progress. Because United finished 3rd last season. Now they're sitting in 2nd. Do you know what I mean? So you look at it and you think, okay, do you know what? No one really expected United to be 2nd at this stage of the season. Especially when the transfer window closed. And you know what I mean? So everyone probably thought, they're going to be in 5th, 4th. Do you know what I mean? Trying to scrape into the top 4. So for them to be in 2nd at this stage of the season, you've got to say, do you know what? There's a little bit of progress. But on the other hand, we're still not really seeing a clear style of play, patterns of play. We're still not really seeing a philosophy. We're still seeing players going backward. And Ollie's still kind of trusting this Fred midfield, which to me is completely not the way to go. So yeah, there's still a lot of work for Manchester United to do to catch City and just even to maintain themselves as a top team in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Martial's had a rubbish season as well, so I don't even want to get onto him. Do you know what I mean? So the season so far, do you know what? It's so. That's all I can say. I'd say if I was going to give it a score out of 10, I'd say it's been a bit of a 6 out of 10 season. Now a trophy before the end of the season, by the end of the season, can take that right up to 8, 9. Do you know what I mean? But whether that happens is a different story altogether. You know what I mean? The second question Andy asked me was, would United make the top 4? Right now, I'd say yes. But Man United are making it very difficult for themselves. They're doing it the hard way. How could you be so comfortable in second, chasing down City? United were even top of the league, you know, a couple of months ago as well, do you know what I mean? But now it looks like the net's closing in. Chelsea have got a bit of a run going. Leicester are still there. West Ham are trying to force it. Everton think the big dogs again, do you know what I mean? So listen, if you don't win your games, these teams will catch United and it'll become a pressure thing with 5 games to go. And do you know what? They could miss out. So it's up to United to keep pace, keep picking up those 3 points, keep doing what they need to do. But of late, like we've seen, it's been nil-nils, can't score any goals. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be a bit of a struggle. But do I ultimately think they're going to do it? I'd have to say, yeah, I think they will. Only just though. Right. The third question was my thoughts on Manchester derby. Now, I'll be honest, yeah, I think this derby is just based on bragging rights, to be quite frank about it. Because you know what, yeah? City have won the league, innit? So this derby, in a sense, even if United beat City, United are just not closing that gap. Let's just be honest, innit? It's not happening. So really and truly, this derby is plain and simple, bragging rights in the City. That's it. Who's going to be in the WhatsApp chat groups, running the miles? Who's going to be going to work, key workers, arguing with the United? That's all it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it'll be a good game though. I think it'll be a good game. I think City can be quite free in what they do because they're ahead. They know even if they do drop the 3 points, that it's not really much in it. Like United are not 2 points behind them or 5 points behind them. So I think City can go into the game playing their freestyle football and doing what they do and have no pressure on them. Where I think United, because they've fallen behind City so far, and United fans can see that, I think there's a bit more pressure on United to go and put on a performance. They drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace. Not good enough. Do you know what I'm saying? So for them to go into a derby this week now, I think they're going to have to put on a performance and try and get the 3 points. But I honestly think it'll be a good game because I think that's the way it's going to go. I don't think it'll be a cagey affair. I think both teams will just go for it, to be honest with you. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Do you know what I mean? Team selections and things like that. I think Ollie's going to have to find. Well, to be honest with you, Ollie's done well in the derbies, hasn't he? Really and truly over the last 2 years or so. He's done all right against Pep. So we'll probably go with the same type of system. Do you know what I mean? Sit back, hit on the counter-attack. And to be honest with you, he's got Daniel James, he's got Martial, he's got Marcus Rashford. All of them have got pace. He's used that at the Etihad before. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does it again, to be honest. In fact, I don't actually think Ollie knows a different way to play against City, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? And for City, well, he's got options. And he rested Foden. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's going to have nightmares the night before because Foden absolutely schooled him at Old Trafford, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it'll be a good game. Score predictions, I think City are going to win, to be honest. I think it'll either be 2-1 or 3-1. I think both teams will score, but I think City are in that mode. And you know that mode that City get into, and it's hard to knock them off stride. You know, anything can happen in a derby, innit? Absolutely anything can happen. A sending off can change, a penalty here and there. Anything can happen, but City have got this thing about them. They're in that zone, innit? And I think it's going to be very difficult for Man United on this occasion. City are winning the ball back quick. Do you know what I mean? I think I tweeted the other day, I think it's gone down from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. Do you know what I mean? The way I watched them play against Wolves and that, do you know what I'm saying? So I think United are going to have to be very, 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 very sharp, especially on the ball. Because like I said, City are in that mode. The fifth question was, how do I see City's season panning out? Well, how I see it is the Premier League's already in the bag. They've got the final coming up against Spurs. I can see them easily winning that. But it's a final. And Jose, he's a funny character, do you know what I mean, with his team. He'll just sit back, to be honest with you. So anything can happen there, but I do expect City to win. And then it's the Champions League. You see, that's the one for City. I think if Pep can get the Champions League this season, then listen, mate, he's already going to go down in folklore. But that will make it even a greater season than what it is already. And that's what I say this, you know, because for me, City have proven, and they've done it so quickly, that they can win a title without those 4 or 5 guys that they had through the spine playing every week or coming in at the end of the company. David Silva, Yaya Toure, and Aguero's not been fit for most of the season. Do you know what I mean? When you actually think about it, yeah, he's rebuilt this squad, because that's more or less his team now. Yeah, there's a couple of players here and there that are not his, like Sterling and KDB, but the majority of that team, Gundogan, Gabriel Jesus, do you know what I mean, Zinchenko, Laporte, Diaz, Stones, Walker, Edison, they're all his players. They're all his players, do you know what I'm saying? So he's coming and he's rebuilt City and they're winning another Premier League. And now this is all within a 5-year period, you know. So I have to take my hats off to Pep, what he's done, the way he's rebuilt the team, as I said. And you know what? They're playing Pep football. They've got back. I seen Pep in an interview with Pep the other day, talking about they had to go back to basics, and they have. They've gone back to basics, and it was worked for them. Do you know what I mean? So overall, I think it's been a fantastic season, because it didn't start off great. City was struggling at the beginning, but then they found that, like Pep said, they went back to the principles. They found the feet, and listen, 20, 21 games, however many games it is, unbeaten, wins in a row. What can you say apart from applaud it? Do you know what I mean? You can only applaud that. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think for City's season, I think it's been a fantastic season. If I was to say something, I'd say 8, 9 out of 10. And I think if they can win the Champions League, that just makes it a 10 out of 10 season. There's no doubt if he wins that double, if he wins that treble, there's absolute no doubt. So that's Centurion seasons, formidable seasons, and you've got this season. Can't argue with it. It's superb. And that's how I see it panning out for City. I just got to think they've got to keep in the zone, try and not have as many injuries as possible, and you know what? Sky's the limit for them this season. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. So once again, I just want to thank Andy for sending me the questions, and yeah, people enjoy the match, because I will be. Yeah. All right, I'm gone.
Okay, there you go. That was Pundit J, and I want to say a massive thank you to Pundit J for giving us his time and comments. As usual, if you follow him on Twitter at Pundit_J, he's always very objective with his comments, and certainly as a United fan, seems like City fans enjoy what they read on social media. So go over and check him out at Pundit_J. But let's bring the guys back. Ross is on, moved around a bit, and Ross has, he's gone for a kit change. There he goes. Another kit change, mate. Nice kit. Yeah, I like that one.
I was going to put this on, but...
yeah.
You know.
Poor David. Don't get me going. Don't get me going. You'll have me welling up. Chris, what are your thoughts on what Pundit J had to say?
Yeah, I think Jay's good fun, as a pundit. Yeah, and I think he spoke a lot of sense. And what he said, really, I think, we are having a good season. I think he realises that United are a little way back from challenges, just yet. I think they could. I don't think they're far off, though. I think they're only maybe a decent centre back away from having a better chance, but I think they need a better manager. If that's my honest opinion, I just don't think he's in the top echelons of managers. I think if they had an Ancelotti or something like that, I think I'd be far more frightened.
Yeah. Simon?
Thoughts on Pundit J? Yeah, look, I think he spoke a lot of sense. I think he's clearly, realistic as to where United are at the moment. I disagree with Chris a little bit. I know a club the size of United, they demand success, but I think Solskjaer's actually done a reasonably decent job. They're second in the league. Liverpool would swap for that at the moment, and he's had to, again rebuild the squad. It's only a few months ago since he was literally, on the brink of being sacked. After a poor run of form, they wanted him out. So I think he's done all right. But everybody's been measured against City, and we're that far ahead. That must be difficult for United fans to swallow at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic.
I'm
sure you're pleased with that, Ross.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally get what Simon's doing. I think he's probably overachieved but I hope he stays forever, because I think that's his level now. I don't think he's going to be a manager who can develop players. I think it's great. I just want him to stay there.
I think, don't you think his football's really basic? It's just, there's nothing special or clever about it.
Well, that's what I mean. I think that's Simon's point, isn't it? So he's done a good job then, because he's not really got those tools, but they're still second in the league. And he's.
I disagree, Ross. I think when you've spent 85 million on Harry Maguire, right? Whether you think he's worth 85 million or not, he spent 90 million on Paul Pogba. They spent all that money on Bruno Fernandes. They've got quality front men like Rashford and Greenwood coming through the ranks. McTominay's not a bad player. They spent 50 million on Fred.
50 quid more.
Yeah, well, that's what they should have been spent on him.
Is that the mascot? Is that the mascot they have?
But United have spent a hell of a lot of money since Ferguson left. I think since Ferguson left, it's something like £1 billion have spent.
Chris, don't you think that one of the reasons? He spent a lot of money, but United are almost strangely at the point where City were maybe 10, 11 years ago, where we were outside the top four and having to buy players with respect to him like Harry Maguire. And if you remember, City were in for Harry Maguire as well.
But that's the only reason United went in for him.
Well, of course, because they wanted to be in competition for the top players, but they're not at the level of City or Liverpool. Certainly weren't before this season. So they're almost having to go into the market for those players that they have to take a little bit of a gamble on, because they needed to get back into the top four. They needed to be back up there challenging. So I think he's actually done a reason. I'm not saying he's the greatest manager that the world has ever seen. He's not. But I think given the pressures of the situation at United, where they're how far back they're coming from, they've been through how many managers in goodness knows how many years since Ferguson left. And he's trying to build something. And I think he's doing a reasonable job. He's the best of the rest. And that, at the moment, given how good we are, that's about all you can hope for, I think.
Yeah, but also, I'm going to throw this out there as well, Simon. They've had a hell of a lot of penalties and no change here. Dodgy decisions, going there.
So those referees, let's go back to those referees again.
United are just, like someone put this earlier, mate. They fall in crap and come out smelling of roses. That's just United all over. I think United are really letting themselves down having him as their manager. There's nothing clever about his tactics at all.
Who would do better, do you think? For that? I mean, who cares, quite frankly, but who would do better for the sake of argument?
Pep, without a shadow of a doubt, would get a tune out of that
they
team.
ain't having him, are they? They ain't having him.
No, but who's saying he would? Ancelotti would. I think Tuchel would. I think Nagelsmann would. I think Ollie is a pretty poor manager, and as was shown when he was at Cardiff, he's got nothing clever about him. And when they have beaten City, it's all been about just hitting us with pace on the break. There's nothing clever about that. Absolutely,
I have to say, I'm surprised that they didn't go in for Pochettino when he became.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. We spoke about it on here so many times, didn't we? On the Friday Night Social, going, it's a classic fit, isn't it? You've got somebody who can bring through youth players. He's proven it at Spurs. And you've got somebody who tries to play expansive football. You've got somebody who seems to be a man motivator, a player motivator, and yet whether Pochettino was sitting back going, well, I still get paid for another 6 months or 12 months off Spurs, and I'll quite happily just take that nice big paycheck and take a break. To be fair, a natural break. I'm surprised United did do everything they possibly could to get him.
Maybe they'll go and get Jurgen Klopp when Liverpool fans drive him out of Anfield.
Can you see that?
He's taking the buying job by all accounts, or the Germany job after Joachim Löw leaves.
That would blow my mind, because I can't stand that guy and I can't stand them, and them combined would just I don't know what I'd do.
You're not a fan of Klopp. See, I have. Okay, recently, I know he's turned into the classic whinger, but I think a lot of the top managers are like that when they're losing.
Yeah.
I actually quite like him. I think he looks as though he's the sort of bloke that you could actually go out and have a beer with, Jurgen Klopp. I think he seems like a relatively decent bloke. Recent stuff, accepted.
I reckon if you said to him it was his round.
Yeah, Simon, I'm not having that. No way.
I think if you said to Klopp it's his round and he was drunk and it was his round and he didn't like it, he'd go mental at you, mate.
Yeah, he'd go crazy, wouldn't he?
He'd probably glass you, mate.
He'd throw a bottle of Beck's at you, wouldn't he? But anyway, we move on, and that was, like I said, that was Pundit Jay. Go over and follow him. On to the next question from Chris was, do we start our best 11 on Sunday? Do we start our best 11?
Always.
We're not gonna say what our 11s are gonna be. We're just a quick yes or no on this one. Ross?
I don't know what our best 11 is.
Well, that's another question.
I think at the moment, the 11 lads who go across the line, that's the best 11. But there's other players you look at and you're like, wow, how are they not starting? I mean, as I said a couple of weeks ago on the show, I don't think we've got one bad player in the squad.
Mendy.
So,
but is he a bad player or is he just it's just not fit anymore?
I'd prefer Mendy over Garcia just for other reasons, but I don't think we've got a bad player in the squad, and I'm just excited to see who plays, what formation we play. I mean, I think the closest I've got this year to picking a side is 9 players. You just can't do it. And Pep knows, right? So in Pep we trust. The 11 that goes on is our best 11. Yeah,
we've been trying it on this channel for 4 years, and I don't think I've ever got an 11 right, ever. King of Assist says, Andy, where's your City shirt? I don't wear shirts, mate. I haven't done since I was about 15 maybe was the last time I bought a shirt. I think it just goes back to the old days of casuals and not wearing your colours away and that type of stuff. I got into.
Were you a hoolie, Andy?
I got it. No, I wasn't. I got into too many scraps though, at certain places that we won't go into, and so from then on, I used to just keep my head down and do whatever. But quickly moving on. Thank you very much for that, mate. Do appreciate it. Talk Sport yesterday. Lots of Liverpool fans wanting Klopp or Klopp sacked. I mean, that's quite. I mean, I'm sure they're not the normal every regular Liverpool.
They've all got London accents when I listen to
well, or Irish, or your Scandinavians, or your Thais, or whatever. I'm sure, but yes, I'm sure the proper hardcore Liverpool fans don't want him out. Listen, Liverpool won the Premier League last year. The year before, they won the Champions League. For them, that's 2 good seasons on the row. Is it a Man City levels of winning domestic trebles things? No, but they'll tell you they won the Club Biscuit World Cup and that type of thing, and that adds to their trophy cabinet. But let them deal with that, and that's fine. Simon, do we start? Did I ask you? Do we start our best 11? Was that a yes? I think you said.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm same as Ross. Nobody knows what our best 11 is, which is a great problem for Pep to have. And all things being equal, whatever 11 he puts out on Sunday, if we play to our potential, we'll win. There's just those 2 little caveats that I have: their record at the Etihad and the fact that they've been very, very good on the road this season. I've no doubt that they will play on the break, but they've got weapons that can hurt us. But I'm less worried this season. Because, I mean, I know we're not going to do it, Andy, but before we came on, you asked us to think about what our best City 11 was. I'm not going to give you
that was a previous one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you the full 11, but I think that the key to a lot of what has happened this season is the easiest part of the team to pick at the moment is the back 4.
Yeah.
And that to me speaks volumes, because in recent years we'd be going, oh, who plays? Is it Stones and Otamendi? Is it is somebody else in the centre? Now it picks itself. It's when they're fit, it's Walker, Cancelo, Stones, and Diaz.
Yeah,
easy. So that and that's why we've got such a good record this season, because we're very difficult to score against. And I know it's a truism, obviously, but if you're not conceding, you ain't going to lose, are you? So I'm less worried this weekend than maybe I would have been 12 months ago. So whatever team Pep puts out, they'll be good enough. I should be.
And the truism is, if you're not going to score, you're not going to win. So it's one of those, and the dichotomy of the whole thing is the fact that we've got this brilliant defense now, but going forward we're still winning games, which is fantastic, but we're not being as clinical as we have been in previous seasons. So it's a bit of a buy-off between the two, isn't it?
We played without a centre forward for most of the season, didn't we? So.
Exactly. We're going to come to, don't worry, guys. I know some people are putting their lineups and things like that, but we're going to come to our lineups shortly. Chris, do we start our best 11 quickly before we move on to the next question?
Yes, we do play start our best 11, but yeah, as the guys have said, there's so many players in form. It's quite scary, really. I mean, you get the odd game where Raz might have a quiet game, but it doesn't affect really anything. You'll come back and be the man of the match the next game. Everyone's in good form. We still think we do have a best team, though. That's my opinion. I think that Diaz and Stones are our best centre-back pairing. Well, they have been this season, so they've got to be the starters. But I think it's hard to call on right back and left back, who you play in the middle three and who you play at the front three. I think I think it comes down to your personal choice, really, and who you like to see playing for the team. Because as Ross will and yourself will defend Raz to the hilt. Because of all the work that he does, and he really does do a lot of work. But there's a lot of City fans who don't see it. Now, no, I'm not saying either side's wrong on that at all. I definitely see where you two coming from, and the way he pulls defenders around. Some people don't see that and think that because he's failed to go around his man or something like that, he's having a crap game. But I think we should play. It's a massive game for us if we do win it and go 17 points ahead of United. Even I, the Mr. Skeptic, as it is,
really,
I think we've got one hand on the trophy. I'll start believing.
Oh my lord!
I'll start believing.
My lord, that would be something. You've heard it here first on Man City. Chris actually thinks if we win on Sunday, we've got one hand on the trophy.
Yeah, just one.
It's not mathematically, possible, but that is a first. Believe me. Shows you where we are this season as a team. Okay, next question. Is 3 points paramount on Sunday? Does it? Of course, it's a derby, and you heard what Pundit Jay said in his thing. It was about the bragging rights and everyone at work, and of course that is very important. But talking, looking out, looking in, is 3 points paramount, Ross?
Yeah, I liken when you saw the question before the show. I liken this to the question a few weeks ago about the FA Cup. For me, wherever we are in the league, whatever's going on, we've got to beat United, because growing up, I hardly ever saw it, and I want those stats that Chris read out at the front. In 10 years' time, to be the other way around. And it's a massive game, but on this one, it's. I think I'm still a little bit upset that we didn't win the league against them a couple of years ago. They spoiled the party there. We should have. I don't want them to do it again this time. We win, we go 17 points clear. I actually think it puts more pressure on them for the chasing pack against them. I think it gives us a real lift for some of the other games. It obviously makes it 22. There's loads of things that this is more than it's more than the win for me. Which is why the answer is yes. I mean, we've just got to win the derby. It's the derby.
Okay, Simon.
Yep, absolutely. For all the reasons that Ross has stated, and being an older City fan, I still remember the days at Main Road. I think I went to my first derby in 1975 or 76. Used to sit in the old Platt Lane, and there always used to be loads of United fans around. They normally beat us in those days. Excuse me, even though they weren't, particularly at a championship winning side in those days. So I still remember that, and we got to beat them, because we drew with them at Old Trafford as well. I don't want us to go through this season breaking all sorts of records and have it that's one of the only teams, or probably the only team that we didn't beat is United. That can't happen. So we've got to win on Sunday.
Well, John Grogan says, let them have it. Had years of torment. That lost that lot. It means less we get. just before I come to you, Chris, just interesting. SOS have pointed it. I haven't seen it because obviously we're doing this, but he's just said City Extra just tweeted that Erling Haaland is destined for City, according to credible sources. We know about credible sources.
He's a City fan, isn't he? Wasn't he at the League Cup final in 2014, where City top or half? Or...
Well,
hang on, Andy, I'll just text Don Hutchinson.
Don Hutchinson, yeah, just see if see what Don thinks. He'll give us the inside info on that one. Chris, is it paramount?
Obviously, it's not paramount in terms of the league, but yes, of course it is. This is a huge game for both City and United fans, and certainly if you're in Manchester, it's a huge game. I think that Ross has alluded to it. The league, when we could have won the league 2 years ago, and we were 2-0 up at half time. I don't think I've ever felt like, United proper shat on our party. They proper shat. The atmosphere on the concourse at half time was it was brilliant. It was fantastic. No. And then whatever happened, and it was awful coming out of that game. So yeah, beating them is absolutely paramount. Going 17 points clear of them will be just brilliant as well. But
it was the first thing when I wrote that down about is 3 points paramount. It was the first thing that came to my mind, that 3-2. And I can remember, half time, we're all having a beer and we're just like singing and whatever else. And then going out after we got beat 3-2, when we could have lifted the trophy or won the league that year, and interviewing fans outside the stadium. And it was just, it was like a typical City, isn't it? Just of all the days for us to, been playing brilliant football and to go 2-0 up at half time and then get beat 3-2 and Pogba with his double and everything else. It was like, it was a tough day, but it was just typical City. And I think I said to one guy said to me walking down the stairs at the Etihad from the third tier of the South Stand, and he just went, "My love is back. That old City-itis has returned again today. Where has she been all these years?" And it was some old guy, and I just thought, "You're absolutely spot on, mate. You are absolutely spot on with Mister." But anyway, we'll see. Will it matter in the bigger scheme of things? I don't think it will. But 3 points, it's a derby, and that's the more important thing, I think, for most City fans. But on to a question. Which probably ties in a little bit with you, Simon. And this is, will this derby stir the emotions as usual compared to yesteryear?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Look, I mean, it does in so many ways because it's still City United. It's still local pride. It still evokes all those memories, as I say, of me going with my dad in the 70s and my granddad, and it was always about United. Although Liverpool were, big rivals even back then as well. But I think, given the respective positions on the ladder and the gap between us, maybe a little bit of the edge has been taken off because it's not like there was 2 or 3 points between us. I was there. I'm sure most of you were as well in 2011-12. When we were going for the league title and United slipped up against Everton, and we had to win at the Etihad to give ourselves a chance of winning that first title in 44 years, and we did. That was, I know. It's even
Shivers.
9 years on. It's incredible, isn't it? And I flew over from Australia for that game. I ain't missing that one. I'll get myself a ticket, and I came over and stayed for the next two games. So I don't think it's quite the same edge. And I agreed, Chris and Ross, that match against United when we should have clinched the title against them, that still burns. So there's things that still have that little spike about them, but is it quite the same at the moment? No. And that's because we're too damn good, which is great. In some ways, and you can call me ludicrous here, but in some ways I I miss the days when we were underdogs, because beating them meant so much more. I was there at the 5-1 in '89. I went to Old Trafford in '85 when we came back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2, which was as good as a win, with the full Members' Cup final the next day. You know, all those memories. This one, it's big, but it's big for different reasons, because it's about us grinding their noses into the dirt and showing them just how far we are ahead. I hope we do it, but does it have the same edge? Maybe not quite.
Okay, interesting. Does that give you a little bit of empathy? You're probably the hard-nosed Blues. Can you imagine what it was like for United fans, blah, 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 in the days when they were just absolutely destroying us year in, year out, year in, year out, year in, year out. And
that's why they said we weren't their rivals, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. And where things are now, whereby are they in second place, our rivals? Are they our rivals? You might say, looking at the league table, the seconds are their rivals, but looking at when I said to you about your predictions, three of you did put United in there, but none of you sort of put them as potentially second or one put third. Is it that close now to where do we look at it going, you know, this team is not going to finish anywhere near us, and does that really take a little bit of edge off Sunday's game, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just all those. I mean, it's crazy. I'm nervous about the dark. Like, why? There's no, like, if you read the table, if you look at our form, why should I even be nervous about the game on Sunday? But I am, and I think that's that in-ground being a Blue. All those. I mean, you talk about what Simon mentioned there about it was the be-all and end-all for us. You know, there was a company called I Was There. So for the last, I've got it in framed for the last derby at Main Road, my season ticket stub and a picture of Sean Go to school. For me, that was like, as being a City fan, I never thought we'd win that day. We'd win the Premier League and trophy. That was like we beat United. Like, I'd seen it like 5 times in my lifetime or something like that. You know, going to Old Trafford and being in the United end when we won 6-1. I've only ever seen City win when I've been in the United end. So 3 times, and I've been in the United end at Old Trafford. Like, it's so I never go in the City end now because we always get beat. So, but that I think it's actually twisted a little bit more or flipped. Sorry, I think there's some United fans who are actually obsessed with City. My feed on Twitter and Facebook. I mean, I've not watched one of I've watched 2 of their games this year when they played City twice. I won't watch them. Like, I've got no so when people ask me how did Fernandes play, I don't know because I don't watch it. I can't watch him. Like, we never had him on growing up at home. Like, my dad would turn it off. So I've carried that on. So they're obsessed. They know everything about City. Sometimes they're tweeting about City before I've even thought of stuff. So were we like that? Potentially some of our fans were. But I think it's flipped. It must be terrible because, you know, all the comments as well that come back to bite him. Not in my lifetime. Blah, blah, blah. You know, you'll never sign this player. Players want to come. You know, I was reading this week how they tried to sign John Stones, Gundogan. You know, you can have Maguire. Do you know what I mean? It's just flipped. We could never imagine this, you know, 10 years ago even, that this is where we're going to be. So I just thought we'd smash him.
Yeah, it's great. Chris?
Yeah. You know, when we weren't at our best, which was for quite a long time in United's, you know, couple of decades of ruling the Premier League, did they show us any mercy? Did they? Fuck. They put a banner up telling us how many years we hadn't won anything, you know. They rubbed our noses in it at any given opportunity, right? So I want all that back in spades on there, mate. I really do. They're horrible, you know what, a lot of them. So, yeah, get out there, smash them tomorrow, or Sunday, should I say. And, you know, just City owe us one. In a home derby, they owe us one. It's a pity there's no fans there. I think that does take away from it a little bit. But Yeah, hate them. I
Maybe,
hate them.
maybe we should put a banner up, Chris. Maybe we should do it's 8 now, isn't it? Since
no. Never ever will we troll those depths that they scumbags did, mate. But I still want to rub their nose in it. We are a much classier club than Manchester United could ever be. We know pain. We were there. All four of us know pain of supporting football.
Oh, yeah.
Man United fans don't know pain. They finish 6th and 7th in the Premier League. That's as bad as they know it. You know, we know pain, and they gave it to us.
Would remember relegation though.
But they came straight back up, didn't they, Simon? Yeah. They didn't go. They didn't get relegated again.
Chris, that was just a segue to get the Dennis Law back healing.
Yeah. Come on. I mean, I remember. It's on the channel. Go back a few years. I sat down with David White for a couple of days, and I interviewed him all about his book and everything else. And I talked to him. I was very excited about that. I was there at that, obviously, the 5-1, and I was expecting this gloating and this whatever else, and he just went, "Nah, not really." And I went, "What?" It was like the greatest thing for me. I was like 18 years of age, 19 years of age, 20 years of age, and thinking it's the greatest day of my life. But that cross.
Andy, it was the greatest day. But that was my 18th birthday. The 5-1.
Yeah.
My 18th birthday was unreal.
Oh, really? And I was like, it was like the greatest day I've ever lived that day. And he was just very nonplussed about it, going, "But we were shit that season." We were, and that was his words. He said, "But we were shit that season," and it was like we won, and we won it for the fans. But no, I was more pissed off about the whole season, and I just was like that cross though, and no, and it was like no emotion there with regards to it. He was just going no because we were so pissed off because we were so poor that year, and it sort of deflated me a little bit. I don't know whether you see it in the video. I'm sort of going, "Oh, right, okay." I'm thinking, right, move on to the next question because I'm just gutted now. I wanted this, what a game it was, and but no, he didn't. But Alan's got a super chat. Let me bring this up. It's the only game I get nervous about. He said it's must win when we play them.
It'll be a nightmare tonight. It'll be a nightmare. I've got to go.
I thought he gets nervous about Liverpool games. That he goes on, he puts his black on and he impersonates.
Andy, I'm going to the Melbourne Derby with that balloon tonight.
Oh,
I don't know if you noticed, but he's telling me.
He said something on there about what time.
What time to meet him, and we're going in the Imperial, and then we're going. Yeah. And then he's texting me, "Can you print the ticket?" I'm like, "Mate, I'm on Alan. You're a balloon. Stop phoning."
Oh, it's funny, Alan.
He is funny. Linny says, "Never forget that was there. How we won that game that year was beyond me." Michael says, "I totally agree with you, Martin. They're always the main rival for me. Great to see your comments on the stream. Hope you and your family well." Oh, is Martin on? Have I missed him? I do apologise. Is he on?
One of my favourite memories of the derby was the Neil Poynton red card.
He's there. Sorry.
I was holding on to things like that growing up. Forget the result. Yes, we had a player sent off in the derby. Unbelievable.
He's here. Sorry, Martin. I do. My apologies. He's on. How are you? Hope you're well. Amazing show. Hit that like, guys. Love the derby. Always will be the biggest game, and always will be the biggest rivals for me. I think it will be for everybody. Rivalries do appear, don't they, through decades, but nothing like the derby. Nothing like the derby. Tyrone thinks 13-0 incoming. Yeah, in your dreams, mate. Yeah, won't we like that? But anyway, that was. Does the derby still sort of stir emotions? Certainly, as it stands at the moment, Sunday's game, considering where we are in the table, even though United are second and we're so many points ahead. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to our predicted lineups, and I'm going to go around the room and. We have to do it. We always do it on the previews because it's a fruitless exercise because nobody ever gets it 100%. But one of us might get 8 or 9 of them. Maybe on Sunday, one of them might get the bingo and City bingo and get the full 11. But I don't know anybody who's ever got it. But we'll go to Ross first. So I will, as usual on the Friday Night Social when we're doing preview games, I will write down your predicted 11s and score prediction. That way, when we go to next week, you get the bragging rights if you got it right. So, Ross, what is your starting 11?
Right the way through, you want me to go?
Yeah.
Edison in goal.
Yeah.
Walker and Cancelo as my fullbacks.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Centre halves. Midfield, I'm going to go KDB, Rodri, Foden.
KDB, Rodri, and Foden. Okay.
Yeah. Sterling.
Left or right? You have to get that as well. I'm only joking.
Yeah, he'll start on the left.
Okay.
I'm going to go Bernardo Silva.
And
I think Bernardo Silva will potentially swap with Foden during the game in my head. And Gabby one goal.
Okay, so hashtag GOG if you didn't know what
and I will say on that, if that happens, I think Mahrez will be very unlucky to miss out because I think the last 3 games he's been
very
fantastic.
Good. Okay, so you've gone for Eddie, Walker, Delicious, and Cancelo, Rodri as the holder with Foden and KDB either side, and we've got Sterling, Bernardo, and Gabby. On to you then, Simon.
Similar. Edison in goal.
Yeah.
Walker, Stones, Diaz, Cancelo, Rodri is the screener, Gundogan and De Bruyne. I'm going to go for Sterling and Foden, and I'm going to go for Sergio as the striker because he needs 3 goals to become the greatest ever Derby goal scorer of all time. And I keep hearing this stuff that he's going to leave the club, and let me tell you, for me, Sergio Aguero only leaves Man City when he wants to. We've had legends over the last 10 years. Vincent Kompany has left when he wanted. David Silva has left when he wanted. Yaya Toure, if his agent had kept his trap shot, could have left when he wanted.
Yeah.
And Sergio is, the legend that is left. So for me, he starts. Hopefully, he gets a goal or 2. And he stays as long as he wants.
It's interesting on the Sergio thing. There was an article yesterday saying that Juan Laporte, the Barcelona potential ex-president or
ex-president Bartomeu.
Has he been released yet from prison, Bartomeu? But he turned around and reckoned that Sergio Aguero was going to Barcelona, which.
Hope not.
Well, we spoke about that, didn't we?
We did. Well, that was the thing. That was when it came alight, and I was talking about. We talked about it last week, didn't we? Saying, Sergio needs to be here if Messi comes. But you were saying you think he might end up at Barcelona, and Messi stays at Barcelona. But Mahrez has to start, no question about it. Good point, says Simon. Says Leonard. Ross the King. Hashtag Ross the King. There you go. Charlie reckons it's going to be Eddie, Walker, Diaz, Stones, Cancelo, Rodri, Gundogan, KDB, Sterling, Foden, and Mahrez this time. Nobody's mentioned Mahrez yet. I'm going to come to Chris now. Eddie, Walker, Stones, Diaz, Cancelo, Dino, Bernardo, KDB, Sterling, Mahrez, and Gabby. And Dandy Mills says Mahrez will tear them a new one on current form. There you go. So will Mahrez tear them a new one in your lineup, Chris?
You'll be surprised to hear. No, he won't.
No surprise. Go on then. Have you got a same back 4?
No, of course they're wrong, mate. It's Edison with Cancelo, Stones, Diaz, and Zinchenko.
Oh, hold on. So yours is the same, but Zinky is at left back and Cancelo's right back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
Delicious. Holding.
Rodri, Gundogan, and Kevin.
Rodri, Gundo, and Kevin. Yeah.
Bernardo, Foden, and Jesus.
Bernardo, Foden, and Jesus. And you reckon Sterling gets dropped for the United game?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we've got 3 different lineups there. No surprise, is it? Absolutely no surprise. We've got 3 different lineups from 3 people. I'll give you mine for whatever it's worth, even though I'm useless at picking Man City teams. I've gone for Eddie. I've gone Walker right back, Delicious, and Cancelo. So I've gone pretty much the same as Simon and Ross. I've gone for Fernandinho to come into this game as the holder, with Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva. And then up front, I've gone Foden on the left, Sterling on the right, and I'm with Simon Hill. I'm going for Sergio Aguero to start on Sunday.
Sergio.
Will it happen? Will it happen?
I hope you're right.
No.
I hope you're right.
No chance. But I do think Foden will start, and it's the conundrum of, does Rodri start over Fernandinho? Does he play Fernandinho in a derby because he's got so much experience in a derby? KDB will play. Does Bernardo play? Does Sterling retain his place? I think the back 4 might speak for itself, even though Chris wants Zinke to play left back. It's going to be a difficult one, and we'll see what Pep picks. And we just have to trust in Pep because he's an absolute bloody genius. Andy, hashtag Andy the boss of YouTube. I doubt it. Mark Goldbridge is the boss of YouTube, mate. Did he not say? Remember, we don't have a channel, do we? Man City don't have a channel by all accounts, according to him. No chance Sterling is being dropped, says Martin. There's no wrong answer to the lineup these days. Good point, Andy Mills. Can I do an IOU? I don't know what that was about. Michael says 127 on the stream, only 6-3 likes. Give the lads. I like doing a great stream tonight. Yeah, give it a thumbs up if you like, if you wish to. Which leads us on to our final question on the derby, and that is a score prediction. So we'll quickly just go around the room, and I will add your score predictions to your lineups, and we'll see whether you get it right. Another thing that I'm rubbish at, but I might say I'm rubbish at everything, but there you go. Ross, what is your score prediction for
4-0?
4-0 to United.
I'm just like, I'm nervous. I think we'll probably edge it, but you know what? I'm going to go optimistic. If we play well, we could smash them. Absolutely smash them. I'm going to go 4-0.
Okay, Simon.
I think it's going to be tighter than that. I think the last few games, City have sort of done enough. I know that we blew Wolves out, but that was a couple of late goals. So I'm going to say 2-1. I still think United have got some weapons that can nick a goal against us, but I think we'll be too good. 2-1.
Was that Leonard 7-0? You might come back. You might be right, mate. You never know. Chris?
Well, I agree with Simon. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think it'll be 2-1 with about 90 minutes to go, and we might pop a third in. So we're 3-1.
3-1. Okay, so 3-1. So we've got 4-0 for Ross. We've got 2-1 for Simon. We've got Chris at 3-1. Well, I'm going to change my mind. I did say 2-1. I'm going to go 2-0. So there you go. That's mine. I'm going to go for, right next to there, 2-0 to Man City. I just think we'll be too strong. I do think it'll be a tight game. I do think they're always nervy games.
I hope Leonard's right.
I bloody hell, I'll take any of those. Like I always say, I'll take 3 points, but I want us to absolutely batter them. I really do. White DZ says 3-1. Aussie says 6-1. What's that? Matal Booney 64 says 3-1 to City. King of Assistance, it's 6-0. Kurt's going for a same as you, Simon. He's going for a tight 2-1. Basil Blue thinks it's going to be 4-0. Charlie's going for 2-0, controlled games. Leslie says 3-1 to the Blues. Foden, even giving you the first goal scorer there. Scott thinks it's going to be 4-0. Ronnie thinks it's 3-1 as always. John Walters says Man City 3, Dinosaur Dung 0. CMC thinks it's going to be 2-0. Abdallah says United's funeral on Sunday. Andy, do you live near the Etihad? No, mate, I don't live near the Etihad. not that far anyway away, but about 35, 40 miles away.
Not as far as some of us.
Not as far as some of you, yeah, no, not thousands of miles. Mark Armstrong thinks it's going to be 3-0. Sean thinks I'm going 4-1 to City. Full-time football says Man United 2, Man City 1. Oh, there you go. Interesting. We've finally got someone who thinks United.
He said 3-1 further up. He's put.
Did it? Oh, hold on here. Oh, he's back there. Man City, what team? They changed everything, but I'm a United fan, so I'm supporting United. So score will be Man City 1, Man United 3.
He doesn't believe it's going to be that.
And then he's changed his mind to 2-1. If he stays on, he might put 1-1 in a minute, and then suddenly it'll be 1-0 City if he keeps going. Martin said it's the derby on this old meeting in the car park again. I wish, mate. I wish those days were back. Can't wait to get back in that blue car park again and get over Joe Mercer Way and start interviewing fans outside the stadium. I just cannot wait.
Changed his mind, Andy. Full-time football.
Is it? What is it? Changed my opinion. It's very tight. Told you. Hold on. If we just give him about 30 seconds, it might be Man United 0, Man City 1.
It's nice that United fan with a sense of humour.
Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely. You're more than welcome, full-time football. You're more than welcome. I'm telling you, it's so tight. Both teams are good. This might end from a tie or a win. It depends how they play. Doesn't every football match. But anyway, John Walters just said, oh my God, Man United fans. They're all coming on now. Of course they are. They're allowed to come on and have a bit of banter. It's very tied. I don't know what to put. You put enough, mate, already. I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, you'll come to 6-1 Manchester City if you keep writing it every 20 seconds. One new notification. I ask again, lads, do you think West Ham can finish in Europe? I think you might have asked again. You didn't ask it before, but if you go back to the beginning of the video, we started off with one of the questions was, who do we think will be in the top 4? And we did discuss that one new notification. So go back when this is finished and watch the beginning. It's all in there, mate.
But we all want West Ham to come in the top 4.
We all want West Ham. So if you want to hear the thoughts on it, go back and watch it again. But we all want West Ham. It will end in tears. City 0, United 5.
On those big scores that people, yeah. I actually think City are going to turn one team over before the end of the year.
We have to, don't we?
Yeah. And I really hope it's on Sunday.
I do as well. Awais Ahmed says, come on the oil. Yeah, absolutely. Keep filling up those cars. That's what we like. Sam Martin says 2-1 Aguero and Bernardo to score. Even giving us goal scorers. The Rags are here. They are, but welcome to them. Give them a welcome. They're obsessed with City's success. That's why they're here. Awais oil tap is on full. Yes, beat Chris. Don't know what that is. I asked about 5 minutes up. I don't know what you asked, mate. But West Ham, yes, maybe. Yeah. Hold on, Ronnie. Are we all losing the plot tonight? Read that again. West Ham, yes, maybe. Which is it? A yes or a maybe, mate? The Guffs are here. They are. Notification says, sorry. No, you don't have to apologise, mate. There's Man United fan. Man City are going to win 3-1 against United. I'm sure that's a fake account. Man City fans being too dramatic. Think of the game. Think of the teams. I'm not even going to go there. King of it says, Andy, even City women can beat United. Absolutely. Probably the way they're playing at the moment. They're playing very well. I would love West Ham to get top 4. There you go. So there's an answer to the previous question. Full-time is he not? No, he's probably. Don't be too scary. 6-0. Think of the game. Oh God, I don't know. He's lost the plot. The Glazers have talks with Aldi to buy Old Trafford. Everyone's losing it now. It's at that time of night. 17 points, 22nd win. Linny says, going all. Take care. 4-1 to us. Thank you very much. Right. There you go. We did a quick round robin of all the comments that were on there, but I wanted to say thank you for all of your comments previously on the United preview. But Ross, you've got a question.
Simon,
sorry.
We'll do Simon.
We'll do Simon if he can stay around for another 10 minutes or so. If you've got a question that you want to ask.
What was the question? I can't remember.
Let me bring it up. Sorry. It was about. I'll go back 1 minute. I've got it here. Second. It was that good. You forgot it, haven't you? Let's just see. Would you asked? Was there a possibility to talk about the difference between now?
Oh yeah.
Those of us who have lived through the dark years in the 80s and 90s, or more to do with the. Let me just see where Chris actually sent an email, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, we sort of touched upon it throughout the discussion about days gone by. It's just funny because I was watching a YouTube clip this week. Somebody was asking me about the dark days. Because not everybody in Australia obviously knows an awful lot about City apart from the modern day. And I dug out the clip of, and this is painful even today, and because I was at the game, the Jamie Pollock famous own goal. The season we got relegated down to the third tier. And I just wondered if. It's sort of we talked about this in terms of the derby, whether it's taken a little bit of the edge off in some ways. I remember going to Main Road every week, and I went away very often in those days as well. And no matter who we were playing, be it Stockport or United or Liverpool or Chesterfield or Northampton, as we had back in the day, I was just never too sure that we were going to win.
Can I just ask you? Can I just ask who this is?
That's me. That's me at York in 19. You remember the famous game, December 1998? I had less grey hair then, obviously because I was a bit younger. And that's me celebrating Craig Russell's equaliser. And of course, as we now know, we famously or infamously went on to lose that game 2-1. And I think that was the worst day of my City supporting life. I drove up there. I was living in London at the time, drove up, met my dad. It poured with rain. We missed the first 10 minutes. We were 1-0 down. We equalised, battered them for 85 minutes. And then I remember their manager brought on a young kid, Andy Dawson, for his league debut, basically to run down the clock. And he scored with his first kick of the football. And that was his only ever goal in league football. And I remember driving back that night thinking, I don't know whether I can do this anymore. And of course, 3 days later, I went to Wrexham and Gerard Vikins scored the late winner, and I don't think we lost another game or barely another game. So it's I don't know, the contrast between then and now I just think is so stark, and this it sort of struck home to me as well when we beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. And I remember just reading that in the paper thinking, has my team really just beaten Real Madrid away from home in the Champions League? It brought back all those memories of Jamie Pollock's own goal and York and Wrexham, and thinking, my God, things have changed. And that's what football is all about, isn't it? It's about the dream of, even if you're in the third division as we were, you can still make it. And here we are, all these years later. I just wondered if anybody else had those sort of slightly difficult relationship with the present, as brilliant as it is in terms of winning trophies. And I'd never swap them. I was there for the Aguero goal against QPR. I was there for the cup final in 2011. I love the modern City, but there's a little part of me that misses when we were a bit shit because it was great crack.
Yeah. Okay, over to you two.
Well, sorry, Ross. You go, Ross.
You go, Chris. Yeah.
Look, we are probably the best run club in the world right now. I can't think of a football club that's better run than Manchester City. But, back in those days, we were probably one of the worst run clubs. So, I think the noticeable difference for me, Simon, is that it's the expectation now of winning. The dark humour has been replaced by almost like a sense of contentment, really. You can, of what's happening. But I think those of us who are around in the bleaker days, are as bemused now as we were back then about going to places like York and Wrexham, and now we're beating people like Real Madrid and things that I think there's a sense of bemusement as well sometimes of like, what's, you know, in such a short space of time, really, you know, 20 years, we've gone from, you know, the real depths to the real highs. And following any football club in the world is a roller coaster ride. There's no two ways about it. But City have gone from the sublime to the ridiculous, and or vice versa, really. And yeah, I think it's just, I do miss the humour. I remember sitting plenty of times in Main Road and just laughing at some of the comments that are made in the crowd by Blues that you don't really get anymore. That doesn't happen because everyone's just watching this serene football. And I think people are just content with what they're seeing. And like I said, I think we are a little bit bemused. You know, we've gone from the colour that cocked up everything to, you know, it seems like we're breaking records every week.
Can I tell you one funny story about those great humour days in the terraces? I went to see City at a cup tie at Leicester at the old Filbert Street many years ago. I went with a mate, and 5 minutes into the game, there's a couple of empty seats next to us, and 5 minutes into the game, these two guys came in. One had clearly had about 15 pints in the pub beforehand because he was literally being carried into the stadium. Oh, we've lost Andy.
Got that dog out.
Yeah, and he was sort of dropped into the chair, and he sat there asleep for the first 5 minutes because he was so drunk. And then after 5 minutes, he came to, looked around, got to his feet, stood up, pointed at the Leicester fans, and chanted, "Leicester, Leicester, child molester," and sat back down. And we all laughed, you know. Anyway, 10 minutes later, he did it again, got up, "Leicester, Leicester, child molester." And some bloke behind me said, "Will somebody tell that prick that child molester also rhymes with Manchester?" I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. And I miss all that.
I remember one night when we played Barnet at home, and I think it was a League Cup, and we won 4-1. And I remember United also played in Manchester that night as well in the Champions League or European Cup, whatever it was, probably Champions League. But I think we kicked off at 7:15, and United kicked off at either 7:45 or 8 o'clock, and missing the train to get back, and sitting there with about 5 Blues, and then about 20 minutes later, all these Reds piled in. But you know what? The journey home was actually a great laugh. There was no aggro. I think that's what's come into it a little bit. That sort of, you know, I don't like the hatred in it. I like the fact that you can have a laugh at each other. You know, it doesn't need to be nasty. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ross? My story's very like Simon. So I was at York and then I went to Wrexham. I felt like I was wet that whole week. It just rained everywhere. It's just like there was a cloud. And I remember my dad driving me back from York, and it's probably Dad's best mate. We never really disagree or anything. But I remember turning to him in the car and saying, "Why did you make me a Man City fan?" And then his response was, "Well, you're going to Wrexham at the weekend. I'm not." And I just remember the bus we went on a. It used to be called the battling bus, because of some of the old boys who went on it, and they had a sign at the front saying we're going to Europe because we were playing Wrexham. They were like using it as, "This is great, we're going to Europe, we're going to another country for a match." Like, it's like, oh my, but it was just great. And I actually think that game was a real turning point because the week before at our supporters club, actually, Joe Royal came to the supporters club and he got absolutely, like, people were obviously angry. What is going on? Where is our club going? And Joe Royal and Gerard Vikings actually turned up and they answered and he said to us that night, this was before we got beat off York, he said, "Everything's going to be all right." And we were all thinking, this guy is he watching what we're watching? Like, we're 12th or whatever it was. And I think that was but the humour, some of the one, I remember the Pollock goal. The guy in front of me, who, like Simon said, he'd probably had about 10, 12 pints. He jumped up when he scored because he thought Pollock had scored. Like, And we were all like looking at it. He was like, what a goal. Who thought Pollock had that in him? And we were like, mate, it's in our net. He's like,
It was a hell of a goal.
Right. And it was just made the whole I think no one was like, I never remember that memory of that actual goal, an own goal, and what it meant. Anyone being angry. It was a bit like, and then one of my other favourite ones was Kevin Horlock being sent off for aggressive walking.
That's right.
I think that could only happen to City. Like, where have you, when it, and it actually has gone down as he got the second booking for aggressive walking. Like, it's just unbelievable. And I think I'm like Simon. I do, in a real sadistic way, miss being shit sometimes. Miss being shit because
was it Middlesbrough we played and they didn't have a shot on target and still won 1-0?
No, that was Birmingham.
Was it Birmingham? Yeah,
I was in Australia by then, and that game kicked off at 3:00 in the morning, Sydney time. And I was watching on mute because, my missus was asleep and the house was quiet. And I watched in total silence for 90 or 95 minutes. And with virtually the last kick of the game, Richard Dunn scored an own goal. It was their only shot on target, and we lost 1-0. And I remember just getting something, I think it was a pen or something, and throwing it at the TV and just going, off.
Was that the one where he just touched it and it trickled back? It just trickled back, and they both looked at each other. David James was in that. They just looked at each other. I remember it was like, oh my God, like what? I mean, you could always count on Dunny for an OG, couldn't you? Like he was awesome at that.
Yeah, happy days.
What do you think the differences are, Ross? Then
what
winning?
Winning. Yeah.
I mean, and this always comes with success, but it's like you say. Like I always went in the so very first City game was the main stand because I was a little lad, like I was 6 or 7, and then I just remember seeing the Kippax and my dad then 2 years later sitting me on the wall halfway up. And then that was it. We only moved out the Kippax when they were redeveloping it to the north stand. And then when we moved to the new ground, it was where we sat at Main Road, really, like the superimpose. So everyone around that, like the little boy who's now 21, who was going as a baby with his mum. But when I've been back the last few years, those people have started to disappear. I mean, my season ticket, I think, since we went to City, is doubled in price. I know it's still cheap compared to some other clubs, but those fans have moved away. Obviously, some of them are not with us anymore because of age and things like that. But then you see, like, I know it happens when you get successful, but the tourist fan, so they're in Manchester, they want to see City was successful. They don't really know anything about the club. So obviously that pocket means some of the banter goes. English is not always the first language. It's just a way in the world. It's a global product now, the Premier League. So I think that, but I think when you are really bad as any sporting team, it's the real fans who stick around. And then I think you've got to have that sadistic sense. Like I can't even imagine why we get beat off York and I'm already planning to go to Wrexham. Like it's and going down to Stockport County because we're doing all right and we can get promoted, not having a ticket and paying £76 to get in to see us get beat and Sean Goater get sent off. Like
when I was a student, Ross, I was going out with a girl and she came up to see me up in Manchester during the summer because I was back home because it was the end of year holidays. And I picked her up from the train station and drove her direct to Edgeley Park to stand on the terraces to watch a pre-season friendly against Stockport. Didn't last, that relationship.
Yeah. But it's like you've got to have that. And don't get me wrong, this is not just a City thing. I mean, I've got friends who are Rochdale fans, and growing up as well, when I couldn't get to away games, I used to go and watch Rochdale because more often than not, Rochdale used to play at home when City played away. And some of the banter there as well. I remember they used to have a player called Steve Whitehall, and he used to wear 2 different boots. Like, and you're like, what? And it's basically his feet were different sizes, and one needed to be Nike, one needed to be Adidas. But I think it's those real hardcore fans wherever you go at every club who generate that comedy and like sensible, and it is like a family, right? And I think to your point, Chris, with some of the media we have now and that instant access, you know, some of the people I went to the match with, I saw them at the match and that was it. Like, but now you're in touch with everyone, and I think that hatred part, you hit the nail on the head. Okay, you can say there was that back in the day with hooliganism, but hooligans went for hooligans, right? And it was their tribal thing. Whereas now I think it's more these keyboard warriors, and it's more words that are hurting now, and especially for, I mean, we've spoke about on the channel, like some of the things I read about Sterling, and not just off opposing fans, you know, it's absolutely terrible. I think some people need to take a step back sometimes and say, we all love football, but it's football, and let's just take it for what it is and have a good time and have a good laugh. I mean, I was having a great laugh with a Spurs fan last night. He was buying me a pint to say, if I buy you drinks all night, will you let us win the League Cup? So I was like, yeah, well, yeah, but it's up to Pep.
Yeah. Okay, I'm on the bell now. Let me just bell him. I'll just right. Listen, there's some great memories there. Sorry, I had to nip out. My dog's not very well this week, so I needed to put him out. But just before we move on to Ross's final question of the evening, we do have another Ross family member who made an appearance last week, and people were saying, what about that haircut? What's going on? Why is his hair like that? What's going on? Anyway, he sent me through another one and said we'd save it for the Friday Night Social. So this is Man City Charlie as usual, and this hopefully if it works.
Who? Who's the best? Who's the best? Who's top of the league? Who's going to win the league? Who's the best? Yeah, who's top of the league? Who's going to win the derby? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. So we'd even done his hair for you and put it in a typical footballer's hairstyle for.
And before everyone gets on here going crazy, because I know probably the school I went to, he'd get beat up for that haircut, but he's in Australia. It's called a man bun.
Well, there you go. That's our next generation coming up. Sete. As long as he keeps pronouncing it that way, he won't go.
Well, unfortunately, Andy, he's also heard me and the missus say another northern expression, which when we concede, and he learned it from the Wolves game. So when they equalised, I said, "Oh shit!" And I picked him up in daycare yesterday, and he said, "City, oh shit."
Oh.
Yeah, he's the only mank in the daycare, and
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And Leonard London said absolutely brilliant, and Sean said that's great. Charlie says that's brilliant, Ross. He's becoming a little bit of a regular on Man City Fan TV. Great stuff, Ross and Charlie. Top blues. There you go. Leonard likes it. But anyway, moving on to the last question. Simon, I don't know whether you have to go. If you do have to go, please feel free.
All right, I'm okay.
Okay, so we're going to finish on one more question. That's from Ross. But just before you ask the question, we've got a super chat in. The Strange One HD says, if you could choose one legend to play in the current squad, who would you choose? Mine would be King Clancy. Okay, well, we'll answer that for you very quickly and go around the room. If you could choose one legend to play in this current squad, then Ross?
Paul Lake.
Simon?
Colin Bell.
Chris?
Yeah, Colin Bell is the right answer.
Well, yeah, I mean, I my first initial reaction was Colin Bell, but I only saw him when he came back from his injury. I didn't see the great days, so I'm trying to think of somebody who, in City's all-time 11, I did put in that all-time 11 for last night for Tom's vlog. And if you haven't seen that, go over and watch Tom's vlog last night about City's all-time 11, and it is generational. I get that. But for me, it would be. I'm with Ross. It'd be Paul Lake. I'd love to see a fit Paul Lake in this particular team. But yes, I'm sure Colin Bell would easily walk to this
I
team.
tell you what, I think there is space for Peter Barnes in this team.
Yes, yeah, that was some. Yeah, I put that in a couple of comments. I think last night I did say
Space for Willie Donachie as well.
Well, that was it. I don't know whether you saw last night's vlog, but Tom had done a vlog about the best City 11, and of course, it was more to do with the 11 that you've seen rather than because otherwise, somebody posted this morning about Billy Meredith and all. It's like, oh, hold on a minute, you weren't born then, so you can't have them. But yeah, it is interesting. Willie Donachie, we spoke about. Well, I posted on there saying Willie. And I think it depends on what formation you wanted your team. I put mine in a 3-5-2, so I could add more players like Dennis Stewart in there. But yeah, with a 4-3-3, I did say Peter Barnes. Peter Barnes as a left winger possibly might have got into the team, but very, very difficult one. Some are saying Andy Morrison. Scott said Barnesy. Great shout out, Chris. Yeah. Rest in peace, Colin Bell, absolutely. Yeah, there's loads. So go over and watch Tom's vlog from last night. But yes, on to and thank you for that question. So there you go. You got the answer out of us. Sean with super chat. Thank you very much, Sean. Alec, Mike Doyle was in my team last night with Vinny. Was he? Zabba, Vinny. No, I didn't. I actually dropped him because I put Zabba, Vinny, and Paul Power in there. But anyway, your question, Ross, for tonight to finish us off.
I'm going to say that obviously a few questions will take some to the other nights, but I'm just going to say, apart from if you look at the current squad, if everybody's fit, apart from a centre forward, if Fernandinho and Sergio stay around and they're given new 1 or 2 year deals, do we actually need to sign anyone?
Okay, who do you want to start that one off then, Ross?
Yeah, I'll go to Simon.
Yeah, I'd probably say that we could do with a left back. Even though Cancelo's doing a fantastic job, he can play either right or left. Zinchenko, I've always been a fan of. I think it's pretty obvious that I don't particularly like Mendy. So I'd say a left back. I think in general, you find that as years go on, if you don't add to your squad, at the moment we think this squad is pretty much perfect, and it is for this season. But other clubs will sign players. They'll look to improve and close the gap. So I think we've got to, make 2 or 3 signings. Obviously, I'd love Haaland, the same as everybody else. Think the world and his wife knows that we need another striker. Maybe a left back. Maybe another defensive midfielder, but you're splitting hairs really.
It's an interesting point that, and I think that is the mentality that Liverpool and some of the teams have got in the past, and maybe even City got in that mentality of we've just won it, we can possibly not relax, but we can possibly get through the following season at least with the squad we've got. And this goes back to that old adage, whether you agree with it or not, is the fact that when you're at the top, that's the time to make sure that you keep at the top and you improve in areas, even if it means you're getting rid of players who are at 75-80% most weeks. You get rid of them and you bring in somebody who's going to be 90% or 95% every week. And
you need to evolve. You need to evolve as a squad, and take into account the changing trends. Liverpool will be stronger again next season. They'll have Van Dijk back. They won't have the same injuries potentially. Other clubs, Chelsea, under Tuchel, will probably go out and invest, and they'll be better next season. So you constantly got to try and keep ahead of the rest, and I think that's what you need. As a minimum, 2 signings, potentially 3.
I think for me that the reason I asked the question, and I'm with you guys, I do believe you should always add. The team down the road did a very good job of that in the 90s. But for me, I would prefer us not to sign players if they're not the right ones, and it's just like, let's just sign someone. And I know I want to go to clubs next because I know this will cause some debate, but we spoke a lot about, if we do want to sign 2-3 players, because of some players are going to have to go out because of the rules, because of money, etc., etc. So obviously a big one that we spoke about is Mahrez. Mendy's in that list, but if you get rid of Mahrez, who right now would replace him in that position? So Chris, I think, back to the main question, but what's your views on it?
Well, mate, we're going to lose some squad players. We've already lost Angelino. Garcia's going. Mendy, I would think, would be going if we can sell him. I think City would like to make some money back on him. I don't think you only have to look at this run that we've been on. He's not been included. Pep said everyone will play in this run, and Mendy's not. Sandler out on loan, Patrick Roberts out on loan, mate. They're all in our squad, so there is room, for people to come in. I would like to see them promote a couple of players out of the U team. Like to see Taylor Howard-Bellis take out Garcia's role, and I'd like to see Tommy Doyle come in as well. Those are the two that I think at the minute out of all the youth players are probably the most ready to come into the first team. I think left back and striker are our two main areas of concern, but I think the left back is being covered really well by either Cancelo or Zinchenko, whichever plays. And thankfully, Nathan Ake is fit, so he could also play in that position.
Haircut.
But you've got, yeah.
He's got lovely hair, that guy. Lovely.
But I think another thing that's important to remember is that Pep does change his system pretty much every year. Or has a new way of playing. So
what happens with Laporte? Is he content if he's not playing every week? And the second part is, do we go after Messi?
No.
I think on that, Simon, on that, and we'll go to Andy, and I agree with Andy on that one. But on that, I actually, and this was another question, so without going into it, but if we wrap up the league and just maybe we should start, trialing things, experimenting. I think we could actually play a back three with some of the players we've got now, and that might mean Laporte. Diaz, Laporte, and Stones. I think could be quite tasty, but then you would need to sign, I think, another wing back. But then Walker and Cancelo could do that job. But then, is it time, Chris? If the league's wrapped up, all right, these records, and we always want the points, but maybe we should use them 5 games to see if some of the younger lads are good enough, and we don't need to sign players. I mean,
we have spoken about this as well, haven't we, Ross? We've spoken about this as well. There's lots of players who are not in the youth team, who are actually in the first team. I can name you 4 players who haven't had much involvement recently. Mendy being one, Torres, Sergio. They're not getting much game time. Nathan Ake, who will want to be staking their claim. Sergio maybe for a new contract. Nathan Ake to prove the point that he's good enough to be in the squad. Mendy maybe trying to force to stay, and Torres who wants to prove himself. So to get these youngsters in, and Taylor Howard-Bellis obviously is out of the equation now. Now he's out on loan. I think Tommy Doyle might get a few games. Delap might get games with him, but I don't know if a lot of people watch the youth or the EDS side a lot. Liam Delap is a bit of a head case. He does get sent off. He's a real hothead. He knows where the onion bag is. No, he can't take a throw in either, mate. But he definitely knows how to score a goal. But this is my feeling on him. I don't think he's a Pep player.
Andy, what's your thoughts? And then maybe we'll touch on the M word.
There were 2 questions.
On the signings. Firstly, back to the original question, and then.
Well, there were a few points came up there. Obviously, the M word came up. The LM word came up. Lionel Messi. Yes, for me, all day long, every day of the week, pays for himself in commercial sponsorship, and I think it's a no-brainer if we want Sergio Aguero to stay at Man City. And then the counter-argument could be, do you want Sergio to stay this season? Do you want another year out of him? Does he deserve another year? I think many City fans will say, give him whatever contract he wants because he's a legend. But I think he needs to stay if Messi's going to come. going back to our point last week was, if Messi doesn't come, there is a big chance, and I mentioned it earlier in the Friday Night Social, that the rumours are that Barcelona may go after trying to encourage Aguero to go to Barcelona in this whole presidential campaign. Let's get Sergio here, and then Messi will stay, and blah 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 blah. Because Messi pays for himself. He will pay for himself. What that does to the squad dynamic is a whole different argument. Do we need Messi? Probably not. But from a commercial aspect, it makes total financial sense for me, and it will only if everyone. And the thing I always look at it is everyone's going, Haaland, get this player, get Haaland, get Mbappe, get the. If you've got a Lionel Messi here, those type of players, another 25%, it pushes them in the direction to go to Manchester City, because as much as we all go, well, Haaland could come here and he's probably guaranteed 4 or 5 trophies in the next 2-3 years. And well, that's fine, but City are not going to pay him 400 grand a week. They're not. So United are paying 450. Chelsea may pay him 400,000. Real Madrid or whatever might throw shitloads of money at him. And that does turn players' heads. It does. Naturally does, the human beings. So for me, I think I do think if Messi, I do, and I know a load of people go, no, I don't want Messi. But for me, my own opinion is, if we could get Lionel Messi, it could solve a load of other issues with who do we bring in and who can we really attract at Man City for the right price. Because let's face it, if I said to you now, Messi is guaranteed to sign at Man City in the summer, well, that means Sergio Aguero is staying. There's no way Sergio leaves Man City and Messi comes here and his best mate's not here. It just doesn't happen, in my opinion. Yep. In which case, so we've got Messi. He pays for himself. So City will probably make a profit on the income that they get commercially off their sponsors. So there's no issue with money. It won't be on what he's on at Barcelona, but he'll still make an absolute fortune. He'll be the highest still paid player probably in the Premier League. But we will be able to cover those costs. But by having Messi here, I think we definitely have the option of signing. If you want to say Mbappe or a Haaland or whatever, and people will say, well, you've got Gabby and you've got Haaland and you've got Sergio. I think Sergio will be happy for another year to play with his best mate if he plays every 3 games and he gets a chance to play with Messi, and Haaland could play as a striker, which means Gabby might lose his place or whatever. So for me, I do think we could play alternate left backs or play in a 3 and things. Do I think we'll start playing the kids at the end of the season? No. I think it's a target man, and I don't care what he says to the media. I think records. I think he does have that ego in him that he wants to break as many records as he possibly can. And even I don't know. I added up the other day. Could we still get 90 plus points? 95 points? Can we potentially get
98? I think.
Is it 98 points? Well, I mean, Jesus, that's phenomenal. Considering the start we had, that would be an incredible amount of points considering how many games we've lost this season. That shows consistency, plus all the other records that we're already smashing now and could smash in the future. And I believe Pep's got an ego. I don't buy into all this, I don't bother about it. I think he's got an ego, and like anyone else, he likes records because they're facts that add on to his success, and it proves a lot of the doubters wrong and goes, well, hold on a minute. Yes, you won that title. Yeah, but we won it with 100 points. Oh, well, yeah, but we won it scoring 115 goals. Oh, yeah, but we won it with. Proves us to be the best team. So for me, I can't see the kids playing. I really can't. Unless it's a cup competition like the FA Cup, because they won't play in the final of the Carabao Cup. So do we need anyone else? It's a difficult one, isn't it? You've all just mentioned about Ake and Laporte, and Zinchenko's doing really well at the moment. I don't know. I still go back to for me, I still think the Messi thing is will determine what we do in the market. If Messi comes, I think we could sign 2 or 3 big name signings, and 2 or 3 might go by the wayside. And I'm talking about 2 or 3 pretty big City players that we may be surprised about. So that's for me.
I agree, Andy. I think, and I know everyone is on the Haaland and would you have him, of course. But personally, if I was signing a striker now, it'd be Harry Kane. I just think that
he's possibly one that we could sign quite easily without the Messi, and if Aguero left thing. He's the one that out of all of them, I think, if you were going to get a striker, you'd probably get him easier. It'll cost you a lot of money with Daniel Levy. But I think he's a player that he's the possible one. I think the Haaland deal will be a very, very difficult one to get over the line, all about finances. But Messi was here. I think that might swing an extra 10% or 20%.
There's no doubt that Haaland would score goals, and that's not what I'm saying. But Harry Kane is proven in the Premier League. And I just think it'd be frightening. I personally think the amount of goals that Kane would score in the City side would be like, if I personally believe a player like that in our team also this season, the league would be over already. I think we wouldn't have lost it because those games where we needed to score goals, the draws and a couple of the defeats. But not that we've played badly, we've really turned it around. But I just think, again, we talk about, is he a pet player? And I just think the Haaland, there are some discussions about, there's obviously the agent element as well, and his ego. I've seen some things in the last few weeks on his social media where he's obviously a very confident young man. And I don't know whether that fits in with the whole pep mentality of what he wants players doing, so after games with his phone on the pitch, messing about. And I think that's been a bit of the downfall for Mendy in our squad. So I'm not sure whether he would fit with the pep mentality, whereas a Harry Kane, a player like that, who's all about, obviously questioned on some of the injuries he gets. But I think, and I know people will say he'll cost a fortune, but anyone who thinks that Haaland's going to go for 60 million because it's in his buyout is living on another planet.
Well, it's not going to be this summer anyway, 60 million. There's no way in a million years. And we said last week, we spoke about it on the Friday Night Social. The rumours were that Dortmund are very concerned about his character, Haaland's character, only because he's still banging in the same game-to-goal ratio as he did last season, but everything else has dropped off a cliff. His assists, his work rate, everything has dropped off a cliff. And I think the rumours were, from what I listened to a podcast, was that they would rather keep Sancho and possibly sell Haaland for €100 million in the summer.
Yeah. I mean, it's and people will say about Harry Kane and his, injuries and things like that. But I think in the Premier League this year, I was looking at his stats, I think he's played 24 games. He scored 14 goals and 11 assists.
Yeah.
And that's just so. Was it Haaland has not assisted a goal this year?
I don't think he has in this calendar year.
Yeah. So anyway, it's all about opinions, right? But if someone was asking me which one would you take, and I know there's the younger and the future, but is he the future? Because in 2 years' time, he might be one of them players who wants to go to PSG or Barcelona or.
Yeah, interested. Any other comments? We've got some on here. Samad says, if Messi does end up leaving Barca, we should get him 100%. I don't see one reason why we shouldn't. Michael Feeney says, a great Friday Night Social as usual, lads. Great stream. Our chairman was saying in the in-house club channel interview in 5-year blocks what our chairman was talking about to the club channel. Pep is proposing a rotation for the centre-backs. Yeah, maybe. I think we're seeing a little bit of that, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
It says you have to keep improving after every season. I think a striker has to be signed and the CDM. I don't think LD is needed unless we can move on Mendy. Is that, I think, a left back is needed? Yeah. Maybe. Charlie says, I think we do play a back three in possession, Ross. I think we do naturally play that, don't we? We play that switching up from 1 one side to the other, whoever plays on whichever side.
Most teams play that these days.
Yeah, a lot of them do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fullbacks push up higher.
Haven't PSG been acquired? Haven't PSG inquired? I'm assuming that is about Mendy. Well,
good.
I was going to say I've stuck up for him for the last 2 years, but my patience is running out with him, and I do think he might be a casualty this summer if we can get some money from him. And we discussed it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, on the FNS, talking about what would you accept for Mendy? And I think if we got 20 million quid, I think City are quite happily just cut the losses and move on. No problem. But Simon, if you need to go, mate, you're more than welcome. We are just sort of wrapping up the last sort of 5 minutes. So if you can stay around, that'd be great. But I do appreciate you staying on for longer than you.
I'll stay. If it's 5 minutes, I'll stay on. But
5 minutes.
Work.
5 minutes, and then we are going. I do promise. Messi is not coming to City. Neil says, I never want to see us play back three unless we're a goal down. If I have 15 minutes to go and need to throw the kitchen sink at it. So if Sergio leaves, build a statue of him. That statues are a discussion maybe for another day, another Friday night social. I think that's why Pep doesn't like him, because he always gets sent off. Come on, guys. Let's get the likes to 100. Yeah, if you want to give it a thumbs up, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. Kane isn't fit enough to play Pep's system week in and week out. Interesting. Very quickly on that one, because I think it is a good point. Is Kane fit enough to last a full season playing under Pep Guardiola in the Premier League at his current age? Ross, yes or no?
Yes, because I think personally, it's one
I
of
said
them
yes.
players.
I said yes or no.
But just to add to it, Spurs need to rush him back. He's coming back too quickly from injuries. They're rushing him back, and that's why we wouldn't do that.
Good point. Simon, is he fit enough to play in the Pep system as it stands now?
Well, I mean, you could argue that Sergio's not at the moment either. And Gabby has his issues, or has had his issues with injuries as well. I think Kane's a quality player. Personally, I'd prefer Haaland, but that's just me.
Yeah. Chris?
Kylian Mbappe, please.
Yeah, well, yeah. But the rumours are he's pretty much signed a pre-contract with Real Madrid, but yeah, I mean, you know, we've spoken about Mbappe loads of times over the years, and Mbappe for me would be great at City, but we'll wait and see. Alex says City won't be mugged. Abdallah says Aguero is too injury prone. We can't depend on him no more. You won't be saying that, Abdallah, if he comes up in the next couple of months and wins us the Carabao Cup, puts us into the Champions League final, wins us, seals the Premier League. And listen, Aguero is not finished. He is still a goal scorer. He might not be as fit as he used to be, and might not be able to play as much as he used to be able to play. But once
Andy, my missus isn't as fit as she used to be, but
Hey, and I've been chatting to Sergio this week, haven't I, Chris?
Yes, you have.
I've sent Chris the videos of me chatting to Sergio. I chatted to him every day this week, so I've sent Chris the videos, but it's for our eyes only. When he leaves City, he deserves a statue. Ozzy, I don't think we need Messi. I think he will unsettle the squad with other players missing out, like Foden. Oh, I disagree. I think Foden and Messi on the right, Foden on the left, and KDB in the middle, ahead of ahead of Haaland or an Mbappe.
It beats Jamie Pollock.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
If you listen to Foden, like that would be his dream come true. Like when you listen to him talking about, I get to play with David Silva. You know, he's like the PlayStation kid, in he playing football, and then he's probably played Messi on his PlayStation all growing up, and now he plays football with him. Foden will absolutely love playing with Messi.
And this was the argument we said a few weeks ago when we discussed Messi to death. It was the fact of he will be probably on more money than KDB, but I don't think KDB would be that bothered about the best player in world football being on 100 grand, 150 grand a week more than he would. I really don't. I don't think it'd be an issue. But anyway, just finally, let's see if there's anything else before we go. Messi is a no-brainer, in my opinion, says Scott. Signing Messi would take City to global super heights, and that would be a signing, a vanity signing, I'm guessing. But let's face it, I've every day this week I've logged on in the morning to all the newspapers, and when Barca have played, who has scored? Lionel Messi again. Lionel Messi again. Lionel Messi again. Another 2 for Lionel Messi. I still think he'd score an absolute hatful in the Premier League, even at his age, personally. But maybe there are better signings out there, like Haaland or like Harry Kane or like Mbappe or others. But anyway, listen, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. I want to say a massive, massive thank you to Simon Hill and Ross and Chris for coming on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Simon, a seed was planted earlier. Somebody did say, I think it was Charlie Everett, about half an hour ago or an hour ago, saying, when are you next commentating on a game, and when would that be? I'm sure Charlie would like to try and tune in and find a stream to listen to you, mate.
That's very kind of him to ask. At the moment, the answer is I don't know, but there are things in the works. So
Okay.
hopefully it won't be too long before I'll be back behind the microphone. But thanks.
There you go. There you go. So maybe if he does, maybe Simon will be kind enough to sort of send us an email, and then we can promote it whenever he's doing something on the vlog.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Yeah, let us know. We can let you know, and Charlie, then we'll let you know, and maybe you can go over and have a listen to Simon's commentary on a game. But anyway, Ross, thanks again, mate.
Off to the thanks, guys. Great to be on. Off to the Melbourne derby tonight. So unfortunately, I'm going with Alan, so that's the downside. But there you go. And hopefully, me and Alan will have a good night. He's already given me my orders of where we're meeting, what I've got to wear. Hopefully, Alan, you've dyed your hair again like last week, and you're looking good.
Poor Alan. He's doing it now, isn't he? That's why he's not on the stream anymore. But Chris, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, cheers, Andy. Simon, thank you for staying on all.
Yeah, I do appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Quick. It's a long hour, that one, mate.
But, yeah, it was.
only ran over by about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
I know.
Gone into extra time and penalties and whatever. So yeah, thanks for coming and staying with us, mate. Great to see you, Ross, again.
Yeah,
and I'll speak to you in the week, Andy.
Simon,
yeah, you will.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, but maybe on one of the tuning radio apps, people could listen to your radio show if they wanted to.
That's a good
right.
one. Thank you, Ross.
Okay.
Yeah. So SEN is the app, Sports Entertainment Network. SEN. If you download the app, I'm starting a radio show on Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Sydney time, which is 10:30 p.m. in the UK and goodness knows in other parts of Australia.
10:30 p.m. That'd be good because we
10:30 a.m. UK. What would it be?
Yes, sorry, 10:30 a.m. Tuesday.
Oh, so it's 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, right, okay, so yeah, it will be a.m. I thought it was the other way around, but
I promise I'm going to mention.
Yeah, well, listen. So that'll be 10:30 a.m. When's that start? Next Tuesday.
It's starting on Tuesday on SEN. You can download the app, and just for City fans, we'll also be having Spencer Pryor on most weeks to talk about the Premier League. So there's a good City link there as well.
Could you do me a favour? If you've got an email now, is there a link or anything just that I can put a link on here to just the generic broadcaster or anything? Not your show, but
no, there isn't a link at the moment.
Okay.
Because it's the first one on Tuesday. But if you go to the App Store and download SEN, it's as simple as that. SEN, Sports Entertainment Network.
Sports Entertainment.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you'll be able to listen to it on the app, no matter where you are.
There you go, guys. So you've heard it here. If you want to listen to Simon Tuesday, did you say it's Tuesday 9:30 p.m. Does that mean?
Tuesday, yeah, so 9:30 p.m. Sydney time. That's
Right.
10:30 a.m. in the UK.
There you go.
And just as a warning, obviously we're going to be talking a lot about football in Australia as well as the Premier League.
Yeah. Of course. But if you want to hear more, there you go. 10:30 Tuesday morning. SEN. Go and download the app, and you can listen to Simon and Spencer.
Thanks, guys.
Be on there as well. So I'll definitely be downloading that and having a listen next week, because I've got a bit of a free week next week.
Great.
Thanks.
God.
Yeah, guys, listen, I want to say a massive thank you to the guys for giving up their time, and everybody who's made a comment, and loads of people on tonight. I really do appreciate it. And I know it's a long one as usual on a Friday night social, but to be fair, it's probably a bit earlier than we've done some of the ones lately, which have been 3 hours and 15 minutes. But anyway, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget, hit the bell icon. Give it a thumbs up if you want to. And if you haven't watched Tom's all-time best 11 video last night, please go over and have a watch of it. It's worth a watch and worth a comment. But take care. Stay safe wherever you are. Come on, City on there.
Smash the rags.
Absolutely. We'll be back maybe tomorrow with something as usual. And we'll definitely be back on Sunday. Whether that be a watch-along or whether it be a post-match, we'll definitely be doing something for that game. But take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.